Chapter 486. Gather all the ancient tokens, summon the power, and awaken her? Sumo and the rest stared blankly at Ling Hu He Huan, Emo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and the rest. What did these words mean? They all had the same question. Emo Wenqing looked at Ling Hu Sheng and smiled. Didn't you tell them just now? I haven't finished, Ling Hu Sheng said. Emo Wenqing laughed. Then continue. The undying beauty is our nine nether's greatest secret. All right. Ling Hu Sheng nodded and looked at Sumo and the rest. Just now on the 16th floor, I haven't finished telling you about the story of the Nether City. I'll continue. I'm all ears. Sumo smiled. The Pure Land God's sacrificial contract was to control the descendants of the three realms. There is no doubt about this. However, the ancestral masters still had some tricks up their sleeve. A smile appeared on Ling Hu Sheng's face. So, we didn't just sit and wait for death. The ancestral masters secretly gathered their power and forged 7 Nether ancient tokens. Every ancient medallion contained the greatest power of Nether City. That was because the patriarchs of that generation had sealed the most powerful spirits and powers of their clans within it. This power could resist the power of soul cleansing. Therefore, those who held the 9 Nether ancient token were trustworthy cultivators. At the same time, they passed down the secret arts. In the entire 9 Nether, only the 2 guardians and the city lord could open the seal. The 5 great clans controlled the tokens, while the guardians and the city lord had the secret arts. Sumo said. This was a precaution and a way to balance each other. That's right, Ling Hu Sheng said. Because at that time, the ancestral masters didn't dare to predict the future. No one could predict the future of the 9 Nether. How did the 5 great clans distribute the 7 tokens? Sumo said. This is indeed a problem. Actually, it's also a key. Ling Hu Sheng smiled. At that time, a total of 7 ancient tokens were forged. The 5 great clans each had one. They were named according to the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The remaining 2 shall be named the yin-yang tokens. Back then, the patriarchs chose the 2 most powerful cultivators outside of the 5 great clans to be the guardians of the yin-yang token. Moreover, let them be passed down from generation to generation outside of the 5 great clans. The 9 Nether ancient token can actually absorb souls. Every generation's ancient medallion protector would seal their soul power into the ancient medallion before passing it on to the next patriarch. Therefore, the bloodline attributes in the 5 elements ancient order are extremely pure. The bloodline attribute of the yin-yang ancient medallion is a fusion of the 100 clans. The bloodline of each generation's inheritor is different. Is the yin-yang ancient token in my hand? Sumo asked. That's right. The token in your hand is the yin token. Ling Hu Sheng said. Actually, you'll notice that its color is darker. That is the result of the fusion of different bloodline powers. Oh! Sumo took out her ancient token and looked at it carefully. Compared to Ling Hu Sheng's token, the color was indeed different. Senior, where is the yang token? Haha. The yin token came from Ling Hu He Huan, so of course the yang token is in his hands as well. Ling Hu Sheng gestured at the white-robed Ling Hu He Huan. The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan opened his hand, and a medallion that was identical to the one Sumo had appeared in his hand. The 9 Nether yang token. The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan smiled faintly. Sumo was stunned. She couldn't understand what was going on. Yi Kansheng and the others didn't know what was going on either. Haha. Ling Hu Sheng chuckled. Everyone, listen to me. The 5 great clans' 5 elements ancient medallions have been passed down from generation to generation. Moreover, we've been patient, so nothing has happened. All 5 of the ancient medallions are under our control. However, the other 2 yin-yang ancient medallions encountered some problems. For the first 10,000 years, the yin-yang ancient medallion holders maintained contact with Nether City. However, something went wrong in that generation. First, there was no news of the Yang medallion holder for tens of thousands of years. Then, the Yin medallion holder disappeared without a trace. We once sent out many cultivators to search the entire Nine Nether. Even the former left and right enforcers personally went out, but there was no news. Ling Hu Xing sighed softly at this point. At that time, everyone was in despair. The ancestors of Nether City even thought that the god of Pure Land had discovered the secret of the Nine Nether Ancient Medallion. However, 1,000,000 years ago there was a sudden turn of events. A young cultivator came to Nether City. He broke through the Bliss Palace like a hot knife through butter, and arrived at the bottom of Nether City just like you guys. However, there were no reincarnators of the three realms at that time. However, that cultivator had the yin-yang dual medallion. Ling Hu Xing's tone was filled with surprise. Although he was talking about the past, it was unimaginable that the yin-yang dual medallion was in the hands of a single person. Who is he? Sumo asked. Actually, we really don't know. Ling Hu Xing shook his head and looked at Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen. Unfortunately, they also shook their heads helplessly. His true identity is still a mystery to this day. Ling Hu Xing smiled at Ling Hu Huan. That's because some people don't even know who they are. Hee. Ling Hu Huan smiled bitterly. It seemed that everything Ling Hu Xing said was related to him. Now, what we know is that the young cultivator said his surname was Mu. At that time, his cultivation was already at the Sea Annihilation realm. He was definitely the strongest in Nine Nether. Ling Hu Xing said. His surname was Mu? Sumo's heart skipped a beat. Back then, Ling Hu Huan had also told her that his surname was Mu. I'm afraid there are no Sea Annihilation realm cultivators in the entire Nine Nether, or even the Pure Land. The people from Tianfu City probably didn't belong to the Pure Land, Ling Hu Xing continued. He came with 2 Nine Nether ancient medallions and was invincible. Therefore, after the old city lord ascended, that young cultivator succeeded as the city lord of Nine Nether City. It's said that everything was normal for the first 100,000 years. Ling Hu Xing smiled helplessly. However, what happened after that gradually became strange. In fact, the Guardians and the City Lord don't need to show up for the affairs of Nine Nether City. It's normal for them to go into seclusion for hundreds or even thousands of years. However, that City Lord actually went into seclusion for 10,000 years. Moreover, something unimaginable has happened to the City Lord. Ling Hu Xing looked a little nervous. In fact, when he said all this, the expressions of the surrounding patriarchs became a little serious. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wuchen also frowned slightly. Even now, they couldn't explain this matter clearly. What happened? Sumo asked curiously. Split. Ling Hu Xing raised his eyebrows, as if he had spent a lot of effort to say those two words. Split? Sumo, Yi Kanxing, and the others were stunned. What split? Not long after the City Lord went into seclusion, he split into another person. Ling Hu Xing said slowly, It's not an ordinary clone, but a kind of split. That's because the first one will die soon. That kind of magical ability allows him to live almost forever. Chapter 487. Eternal Life? Sumo was very sensitive to this term. That was the path AMU had chosen for the three realms back then. However, was there really such a thing as eternal life in this world? It was the first time even the former Nether Sovereign had heard of a split inheritance. How could a hidden technique be so mysterious? What happened after that? Sumo asked again. He knew that Ling Hu Xing's story must have a continuation. After that, this split inheritance continued for hundreds of thousands of years. The City Lord of Nether City has never changed. The protectors have been passed down from generation to generation, and the City Lord has never changed. Ling Hu Xing smiled. This was originally a good thing. Although City Lord Mu would go into seclusion every time there was a split inheritance, and his cultivation seemed to fluctuate, his realm has always been improving. The last time City Lord Mu came out of seclusion, he was said to have reached the perfected Sea Destroyer realm. But Ling Huxing's words changed. Sumo and the others understood that an unforeseen event had come. Ling Huxing smiled bitterly, then looked at Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and the white-robed Ling Hu Hihuan. His eyes seemed to be asking for instructions. Speak, Mo Wenqing said. The white-robed Ling Hu Hihuan shook his head helplessly. During the last split inheritance 100,000 years ago, something seemed to have happened. Ling Huxing's eyes showed a look of reminiscence. Back then, I had just become the head of the Ling Hu clan. The day the City Lord came out of seclusion. At that time, the 5 great clans and 2 protectors were waiting on the 18th floor. However, we did not see City Lord Mu. A trace of shock flashed in Ling Huxing's eyes. Then what did you see? Sumo asked. When the switch was switched, a young City Lord Mu would walk out. Then, there was an old City Lord on his last breath. That was the completion of the inheritance. But, that time, Ling Huxing took a deep breath. He had seen everything with his own eyes. That time, after the switch was switched, there was only a little boy, who looked to be 8 or 9 months old, lying naked on the ground, crying. Beside him was the 9 Nether Yang token. And in the middle of the City Lord's immortal cave, there is a cultivator who seems to be City Lord Mu sitting cross-legged. However, half of his body was still the same as before, but it was already withered, without any vitality. On the other side, he is full of vitality, but his appearance has already undergone a great change. City Lord Mu was originally a male cultivator. Ling Huxing sighed. However, on that day, the remaining half of the City Lord's body turned into a woman's. Female. Sumo Yi Kanxing, Yu Wuji, Zhao Xiu, and Li Ziliang were all stunned. Splitting the inheritance, a male body becoming a female body, such a thing was truly unheard of. What's going on? Sumo asked again. Hee. Ling Huxing shook his head. Everything that happened that day is still a mystery. In the end, the withered City Lord Mu opened his mouth to speak. Only, his voice was weak, not all that clear. At that time, he pointed at the boy and said that he would appoint this boy as the City Lord and enter the Ling Hu Gate, and that his name was Hihuan. Immediately, he sealed his cave residence and fell into a deep sleep, waiting for the 7 tokens to come together to awaken him. Yin and Yang unite, awaken the cycle of reincarnation. For all eternity, forgive me for my sins. Those were City Lord Mu's last words. Ling Huxing sighed. Immediately after, I saw with my own eyes that City Lord Mu had completely transformed into a woman's body, lying quietly in the cave residence and falling into a deep sleep. The cave residence gradually closed. In the end, we could only carry that boy out, Ling Huxing said. Brother Hihuan, are you that boy? Sumo looked at the white-robed Ling Hu Hihuan. That's right. The white-robed Ling Hu Hihuan said helplessly. Unfortunately, I don't have any memories. My memories start from the Ling Hu clan. Everything, just like you, was informed by the clan lord. Is City Lord Mu a reincarnator? Sumo asked again. According to our conjecture, he might be. The one who spoke was Mo Wenqing. However, in the entire galaxy, there is no one who cultivates in that kind of cultivation technique. Splitting the inheritance. Sumo nodded. There was no technique in the 3 realms that he did not know, but definitely not splitting the inheritance. Moreover, from Ling Huxing's description, it was not just splitting the inheritance, but also the change of gender and yin and yang. Yin and yang unite. Sumo recalled the black-robed puppet in Bliss Palace and asked, Senior Ling Hu, who created the black-robed puppet in Bliss Palace's Hall of Immortal Desire? The black-robed puppet? Ling Huxing looked at the white-robed Ling Hu Hihuan. It was left behind by the City Lord. The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan said. Unfortunately, you destroyed it. It was a late-stage soul-burying realm puppet. Was it a man or a woman? Sumo asked. A man or a woman? The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan smiled. It's just a puppet. Why would it be a man or a woman? Sumo looked at the white-robed Ling Hu He Huan with a strange expression. Brother He Huan, are you a man? Huh. The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan frowned and said angrily, I am. If you don't believe me, you can verify my identity. Sumo waved her hand and smiled. There's no need for that. Actually, it's just that. Sumo said with a straight face, there are many things in the Nether City that give off an indistinguishable feeling of yin and yang. Perhaps City Lord Mu wasn't a real male cultivator back then, but a being of yin and yang. Perhaps something went wrong during the final split, and he turned into a man and a woman in order to achieve a breakthrough. Mo Wenqing nodded. That's possible. Something must have gone wrong during the final split of the inheritance. Otherwise, He Huan wouldn't have lost all his memories. He might even be an ordinary cultivator. The others nodded as well. This was the consensus they had all reached over the years. But how do you explain the other Ling Hu He Huan? The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan frowned. After all, the Li brothers escaped from the 9 hells 100,000 years ago. We didn't send any cultivators to hunt them down, nor did we receive any orders from the City Lord. The Bliss Palace only exists in the 9 hells. What? Sumo was stunned. That's right. Mo Wenqing nodded. He Huan is right. When the Li brothers escaped from the 9 hells, we didn't hunt them down. After all, the pain of the 9 hells made them lose hope. Not everyone is willing to bear the fate of a sacrifice. After escaping from the 9 hells, they are no longer cultivators of the Nether City. Their life and death have nothing to do with us. The shame of the Li family. The Li family's master, Li Yuntian, snorted coldly. Their family records have long been erased. They are no longer disciples of the Li family. Sumo shook her head when she heard that. Li Yuanyi, Li Yuanchu, and the 300 nascent soul cultivators are all dead. Everyone, what you're saying is completely different from what I heard from Ling Hu He Huan on the White Bones mainland. It seems like there's something more to this. Mo Wenqing and the others frowned. Who was that Ling Hu He Huan? Chapter 488. Different Worlds, Different Ling Hu He Huan. In the 17th floor of Nether City, no one could figure out what was going on. However, she definitely had something to do with Nether City. Otherwise, she wouldn't have possessed the 9 Netherworld Yin token and given it to Sumo. The family heads of Nether City all believed that the 9 Netherworld Ancient token was given to whoever it was. It was the choice of their ancestral master, the so-called ancestor god. At this time, Sumo waved her hand and once again transformed into the appearance of Ling Hu He Huan from the Bone Continent. She could bring calamity to a country and bring calamity to the people, and her beauty was unparalleled. Ling Hu He Huan's beauty could truly move one's heart. It's her. Ling Hu Sheng was the only cultivator present who had seen City Lord Mu's female appearance. He stared in shock at the illusion that Sumo had summoned. She's City Lord Mu's female appearance. Her appearance is exactly the same. As soon as he said this, everyone present was shocked. Protectors, is the City Lord still sleeping on the 18th floor? Asked the Tang family head, Tang Wan'er. Always. Bai Wangchen said confidently, then frowned. I've been guarding this place for tens of thousands of years and definitely haven't seen the City Lord leave seclusion. Moreover, I entered the 18th floor 300 years ago. The City Lord's cave is tightly shut, and there's nothing strange. I can even sense the spiritual qi fluctuations inside. The City Lord is still sleeping. I saw Ling Hu He Huan from the Bone Continent over 1,000 years ago, Sumo said. If City Lord Mu was still here 300 years ago, then she shouldn't be alone. Moreover, Ling Hu He Huan was only a peak soul transformation cultivator back then. Li Yuanyi and Li Yuanchu were already divine tribulation cultivators. Li Yuanyi and Li Yuanchu lost their cultivation in order to escape Nine Netherworld. In truth, they were both in the undying realm back then. If they had continued cultivating in Nether City, they could have even reached the God Burial Realm. Li Yuntian sighed. Unfortunately, they went astray and deserved to die. Peak soul transformation. The white-robed Ling Hu He Huan could not help but shake his head. He was only concerned about the other Ling Hu He Huan's cultivation. This one's cultivation is indeed not high. Brother He Huan, what's your cultivation level? Sumo couldn't see through He Huan's cultivation level. Me? Haha. Ling Hu He Huan laughed. I can't even describe my cultivation level. Oh. Sumo was surprised. His cultivation base doesn't work when it fails. The realm was very vague. When he is strong, he is like a break-world cultivator. When he is weak, he is just a mortal. Mo Wenqing laughed. That is why he is the leader of Underworld City. However, he was only willing to take charge of the Bliss Palace once in a while, seeking to live a carefree life. That's why I said he's a special person. It doesn't work. Sumo didn't understand. To tell you the truth, the white-robed Ling Hu He Huan said helplessly, I keep feeling that there's another me in this world. We're sharing the same power. When the other person uses this power, I have no power. When the other person doesn't use this power, the power is with me. But I can't see or touch that person. I can't explain that feeling. Everyone was in disbelief. Thousands of worlds, endless mysteries. Sumo sighed. Although he had the same memories as the Dark Lord, there were many questions that he couldn't explain. That was definitely not a demon twin. There are many mysteries, but perhaps they will be solved soon. Mo Wenqing glanced at everyone. City leader Mu said that the 7 orders could be combined into one, so he could be awakened. Now all 7 orders are present. The time is right. As for the rest, we can wait for the city leader to wake up and ask him. Mo Wenqing looked at Bai Wangchen. After all, in Underworld City, the 2 of them were the ones who could decide everything. Alright. Bai Wangchen didn't say much. He just nodded. Mo Wenqing looked at the 5 clans, and they nodded as well. Alright. Let's go to the 18th floor. Mo Wenqing said and started to form a seal with his hands. At the same time, Bai Wangchen also started to form a seal. 2 rays of black and white light rose at the same time. On the ground of Bai Wangchen's cave dwelling, a door of light opened. That door of light was like a pool of water. The black and white lights flickered, then gradually fused. Many things in Underworld City actually emitted a kind of yin and yang spirit. Even this simple door of light was like that. And the 18th level was naturally below the 17th level. Immediately, a flight of stairs appeared in that door of light. It was also black and white and was rather peculiar. Bai Wangchen directly walked at the front, passing through the door of light. Then it was the 5 clan heads, Sumo and the rest, and finally Mo Wenqing. Everyone followed in order. Sumo secretly noticed that the spiritual qi in the 18th level of Underworld City was much denser than the other levels. However, this 18th level gave people a very stifling feeling. In fact, it wasn't just Sumo. The others also had a similar feeling. The 18th level of Underworld City is the lowest level of Underworld City. Here, the minimum requirement for a cultivator's realm is the undead realm. Otherwise, they won't be able to withstand it, Mo Wenqing said. At this moment, Zhao Xiao and Li Ziliang felt extremely pressured. They could only resist in secret to barely cope. They didn't walk far, and the entire area of the 18th level wasn't big. This place looked like a large courtyard. Facing them, Sumo saw the door of a cave dwelling. The door was a kind of door of light. Half of it was emitting black light, while the other half was emitting white light. It was a bit like the color of Bai Wangchen's hair. However, there was an extremely special restriction on the door. It was a seed destruction level restriction. Among the many cultivators present, even Bai Wangchen and Mo Wenqing would be turned into ashes if they tried to force their way in. At this moment, Bai Wangchen and Mo Wenqing stood on both sides of the door of the cave dwelling. Everyone, please take out the 9 underworld ancient token. Only then can we open the City Lord's cave dwelling. Mo Wenqing said. The 5 clan heads, white-robed Linghu Hihuan, and Sumo each held the 9 underworld ancient token in their hands. Looking again, Bai Wangchen and Mo Wenqing once again formed seals at the same time. However, their seals this time were different. In an instant, a 5-pointed star appeared on the door of the cave dwelling. This 5-pointed star was somewhat similar to the formation that Ling Huxing had set up in his old residence. The 5 elements ancient tokens were the first to fly out and land on the 5-pointed star. As for white-robed Linghu Hihuan and Sumo's yin-yang ancient tokens, they didn't fly out, but they each emitted a wisp of soul power. Whoosh, the 5-pointed star suddenly spun. Then, the black and white door of light instantly dissipated. A cave dwelling directly appeared in front of them. It was actually a cave dwelling that looked like white jade. The cave dwelling was spacious, and in the middle was a round white jade platform that had a diameter of 3 feet. Its light scattered in all directions, and the faint white light was boundless. And in the boundless white light, there was actually a long-haired woman in black floating. City Lord Mu. Apart from Ling Huxing, it was the first time that the others had seen City Lord Mu's true body. Ling Hu Hihuan. Sumo exclaimed in her heart. Because it really was exactly the same as the Linghu Hihuan that she had seen before. However, at this moment, what shocked everyone the most was no longer City Lord Mu, but a white-robed youth standing not far from City Lord Mu with his hands behind his back. Chapter 489. City Lord Mu was devastatingly beautiful. Her skin was extremely white, and her long hair was as black as ink. That black robe made him look even more solemn and mysterious. If Ling Huxing hadn't told them, no one would have thought that this devastatingly beautiful woman was once a male cultivator. The exchange of yin and yang was truly amazing. However, when everyone saw the other scene, all the amazement was instantly washed away. Because, on the other side of the white jade platform in the center of the immortal cave, which was also on the other side of the sleeping City Lord Mu, stood a young man wearing white clothes. The young man was only 17 or 18 years old, and his clothes were as white as snow. He had a handsome face and was in high spirits. At this time, he was wearing a smile on his face, looking calm and composed. However, the expressions of the cultivators of Nether City that saw this scene suddenly changed. Bai Wangchen and Mo Wenqing raised their brows. The aura of the world-breaking realm spread from their bodies. The 5 family heads also looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy. The 18th floor of Nether City was known as the safest place in the entire Netherworld realm. Even the protectors of Nether City like Bai Wangchen and Mo Wenqing needed the Netherworld Ancient Order to enter. But now, a cultivator from the outside world was standing here. That was something they didn't even dare to dream about. The restrictions of Nether City didn't work on the body of the young man wearing white clothes. Who are you? Why did you trespass into the forbidden area of my holy city? Mo Wenqing was relatively calm, and he didn't act rashly. At this moment, he felt that the young man in white clothes in front of him was unfathomable. Moreover, he felt a sense of déjà vu from that young man's body. Protector Mo, don't worry. You will know soon enough. The young man in white clothes smiled. Then, he didn't reply to Mo Wenqing's question. Instead, he looked at Sumo. Brother Su, at this critical moment, aren't you going to introduce me? Sumo looked at the young man, feeling extremely shocked. How did Li Beihan enter the 18th floor of Nether City? From the looks of it, it was as if he was walking on flat ground, and he didn't feel any pressure at all. What kind of cultivation and realm was this? The inheritor of the ancient Holy Lotus was unexpectedly so powerful. Everyone, I know this young man in white clothes. Sumo faintly smiled. His surname is Li, and his name is Beihan. He's a friend, not an enemy. If I'm not mistaken, he should be the inheritor of the ancient Holy Lotus Li Water. The successor of Li Water? Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen couldn't help but look at each other. Back then, in the Demon Continent's Azura world, Bai Wuming, Mo Wuhan, and Li Shui were close friends. The youth in front of him was the successor of Li Shui. At this moment, Mo Wenqing finally understood why Li Beihan had given him such a familiar feeling. Because Li Beihan and Li Shui were very similar. Li Beihan greets everyone. Li Beihan cupped his hands towards Bai Wangchen, Mo Wenqing, and the other Nether City cultivators, as well as Sumo and the others. The Millennium Sacred Lotus is my father. Son of Li Water. At that moment, Sumo, Yi Kanshing, Yu Wuji, Mo Wenqing, and Bai Wangchen were all shocked. At the same time, they were deeply moved. They were all reincarnators of the three realms, and were naturally very familiar with Li Water. Back then, during the Demon Sealing War, Li Shui and Li Rual were taken away by a mysterious power outside the three realms. From then on, there was no news of him. Right now, the son of Li Water was standing in front of him. It could be seen that time passed in the blink of an eye, and they had all lived 2 lives. Actually, the departure of the Sacred Lotus had always been a mystery. Li Beihan. Mo Wenqing withdrew his aura, then looked at Li Beihan and sighed with a smile. The son of the Sacred Lotus is indeed like a lotus. Your name is Beihan. It seems that the Sacred Lotus has not forgotten the ties of the three realms. How can the ties of the three realms be forgotten? Li Beihan cupped his hands again and said seriously, My father said that if I meet an old friend of the three realms, I must greet them on his behalf. I already know everyone's identity. Here, I greet everyone on behalf of my father. After saying this, Li Beihan's gaze fell on Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, Yi Kanshing, and Yu Wuji one by one to show his respect. Finally, his gaze stopped on Sumo. Congratulations, Nether Supreme, for awakening the memories of the three realms. Sumo smiled. Brotherly, you are indeed amazing. Could it be that you already knew who I was back in Beiqian City? At the time I was not sure, but I already had a guess in my heart. Li Beihan said. So, you gave me the Sacred Lotus Jade Pendant and sent people to protect me in secret? That's right. Everything in the ancient coin's secret realm verified my guess. Li Beihan smiled. The 9th Nether City can be considered as the shadow of Tianfu City. The entire Nether City is basically under the control of Tianfu City. I won't hide it from you. According to what I know, everything here will slowly become puppets. The 9th Nether City is the same as the Pure Land world. They are both places where puppets are kept. Li Beihan's words made everyone's heart sink. Who is keeping us in captivity? Mo Wenqing frowned slightly. The corpseless sect. Li Beihan said. It's that famous but extremely mysterious sect. Almost every major event in the Pure Land world has its shadow behind it. It is like an invisible hand that affects everything in the Pure Land world. The corpseless sect. The 9th Nether cultivators had never heard of this sect. However, Sumo furrowed his brows. Because she had heard of this sect many times. The last time they heard of the corpseless sect was in the ancient coin's secret realm. The corpseless sect Busiyun. At this moment, Yi Kanshing and Yu Wuji couldn't help but look at Sumo. I have come into contact with the corpseless sect a few times. But what kind of existence is it? Sumo asked. A colossus unfathomable. Li Beihan said. According to what I know, the star domain it controls is close to the original three realms. What? The original three realms? Sumo, Yi Kanshing, and the other reincarnation cultivators were shocked. The Pure Land world can only be considered a corner of the Yizang world. Li Beihan smiled, then said slowly, the Yizang world is a true law world. The original 3 realms can't even be mentioned in the same breath, because they aren't on the same level as you. Then it's like cultivators of different realms. One day you will understand. And in the Yizang world, there is a world called Chen Luo. Chen Luo? Sumo couldn't help but ask. Yes, Chen Luo. Li Beihan looked at Sumo. The Chen Luo planet is divided into 4 major star domains: Dongyi, Gulian, Baihe, and Dead Spirit. These 4 major star domains are extremely vast, and each of them has their own rules. In principle, they each defend their own territory and complement each other's invasion. And the so-called Pure Land world is only a small star in Dongyi star domain. If Dongyi star domain is compared to an empire, then the Pure Land world is at most a small town on the edge. In Dongyi star domain, there are at least 3,000 existences like the Pure Land world. 3,000 small worlds. Mo Wenqing laughed bitterly. This was the first time he heard about the 4 major star domains. Yes, more or less. Li Beihan smiled. And the Corpseless sect has already controlled the entire Dongyi star domain, and its tentacles have even extended to other star domains. For example, your Gulian star domain. The corner of Sumo's mouth curled up, because he remembered that White Camel came from the Gulian star domain, and was a rare winged race. 8. Chapter 490. Yizang True Law Realm. Dust Net World, 4 major galaxies. The Pure Land world was only one of the 3,000 worlds in Dongyi Galaxy. How vast and boundless it was! Li Beihan's words shocked the minds of all the cultivators present. The world in their minds was expanding rapidly. Yizang was boundless. Even Sumo, who was once the Nether Sovereign, felt endless waves in his heart. Because the concept of Yizang was far above the 3 realms. Even the galaxies that came later couldn't compare to it. Back then, Songhai had mentioned Bai Shan, Dahai, and Lotus Flower. Were they the shadows of Yizang? The 3 realms really wasn't that big. At least, it was compared to Yizang. At this time, Sumo faintly agreed with Songhai's choice back then. The world was so big. Who wouldn't want to see it? I am indeed from the Gulian Galaxy. Li Beihan nodded at Sumo. Mr. Li, how far is the Gulian Galaxy from here? Yi Kanqing asked. In fact, the other cultivators had the same question. They didn't seem to have a clear idea of the world Li Beihan was talking about. How big was the world they lived in? Dust Net Galaxy has 4 major galaxies. If you have to look at them in terms of direction, then Dongyi is in the east, Gulian is in the south, Baihe is in the west, and Death Spirit is in the north. However, the distance between the 4 major star regions is very difficult to measure. Li Beihan frowned. He seemed to be thinking of how to make the people present understand his words. Because if you are not a cultivator in the later stage of the breaking world, you can't pass through the barrier between the galaxies unless you use special treasures or external help. Even if you are going in the right direction, you won't be able to enter another galaxy after tens of thousands of years. In other words, going from Dongyi Galaxy to the Gulian Galaxy is actually a change in time and space. The distance between Dongyi and Gulian cannot be determined as a simple matter of distance. Li Ziliang and the 5 family leaders didn't really understand. However, Sumo, Yi Kanqing, Yu Wuji, Zhao Xiu, Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and the other reincarnators of the 3 realms completely understood. The space between the 4 galaxies is like the space between the 3 realms, right? Yi Kanqing asked. Li Beihan's eyes lit up. Yes. Although I've never been to the 3 realms, that's how it should be. Sumo laughed bitterly. But the former desolate sea, Azura, and limitless added together is at most like a dust world. Brother Li, in the Yizang world, how many worlds like Chen Luo are there? 3,000. Li Beihan smiled. Of course, the 3,000 here means many. I'm afraid no one can say for sure how many there are. The true methods are endless, the world is like sand, it cannot be counted. Are there any other worlds above Izong? Sumo asked again. Li Beihan shook his head. I don't know what's above the first treasury. But my father once said that there are endless windmills and endless lotuses, and all of our worlds are above the lotuses. So, I think there must be another world above the first treasury. It's just that I don't know yet. Endless windmills? Sumo's heart skipped a beat, because he thought of the mysterious 5 wheels, the windmill lineage. What are windmills? I can't say for sure, I can't tell. Li Beihan shook his head again, his eyes filled with confusion. I only know that all of our worlds exist above the lotuses, and the lotuses are above the sea of perfume. The sea of perfume is above a windmill. My understanding of a windmill is that it's an existence that carries everything. But what it looks like, what it's made of, I don't understand. Li Beihan's words were like a book from the heavens. Everyone was speechless. Sumo sighed softly and didn't ask any more questions about windmills. For the first time, Sumo felt like a frog at the bottom of a well. One must know that he was once an existence that could dominate the billions of living beings in the 3 realms. The Dark Lord and the vast ocean were the gods of the 3 realms. Even gods were insignificant, let alone all living beings. However, Sumo immediately thought of something else, and couldn't help but ask, Brotherly, have you heard of the Windmill World and the Doluo Tristar? The Windmill World? Never heard of it. But I've heard of the Doluo Tristar. Li Beihan frowned. The Doluo Tristar is at the edge of the Doluo world. It belongs to the Dead Souls galaxy. But I don't know its exact location, because it requires a specific star map. Why are you asking about that place? Haha. Nothing. Sumo smiled helplessly and nodded. He didn't say anything about Mu Jinghong. He wanted to solve Mu Jinghong's problem himself. However, with his current level of cultivation, it was impossible for him to do so. So he didn't ask any more questions. Right now, he had to finish the business in Tartarus City first. After a short silence, everyone calmed down and pulled their thoughts back to the 18th level of Tartarus City. Young Masterly, how did you enter Tartarus City? Why are you on the 18th level? Mo Wenqing changed the topic and asked a more important question. Although Li Beihan was the son of Li Shui, it was still a bit abrupt for him to appear on the 18th level of Tartarus City. After all, this was the forbidden area of Tartarus City. If it wasn't Li Beihan, but another cultivator, the consequences would be unimaginable. Protector Mo, Protector Bai, Patriarchs. Li Beihan bowed to the cultivators of Tartarus City again. First of all, I would like to apologize. It was indeed abrupt to enter this place without permission. But I did enter the 18th level to verify some things. You should know that apart from the last 3 levels of Tartarus City, there are almost no Pure Lands left. Yes. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen nodded helplessly. The 5 patriarchs let out a long sigh. Because Li Beihan was right. Young Masterly, what you said makes sense. But what do you want to verify? Mo Wenqing asked. I want to see what kind of person the so-called City Lord of Tartarus City is. Li Beihan looked at City Lord Mu, who was floating in the air above the round white jade platform. His eyes were faintly emitting a strange light. In fact, before Sumo and the others came in, Li Beihan had been looking at City Lord Mu like that. Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and the others frowned slightly. Young Masterly, did you see something? Bai Wangchen's tone was slightly cold. Regardless of their realm, Li Beihan's gaze was a bit too much. Li Beihan could naturally tell that Bai Wangchen didn't hide anything from him. Protector Bai, forgive me for being rude. Actually, I just want to confirm whether City Lord Mu, who has been in slumber for so many years, is a puppet. What? Everyone present was stunned. Because this kind of suspicion was somewhat shocking. How could the City Lord of Tartarus be a puppet? Nonsense. Bai Wangchen sneered. The corner of Li Beihan's mouth curved slightly. City Lord Mu is indeed not a puppet. But there's something else hidden in the 18th level of Tartarus City. As he spoke, Li Beihan's white robes fluttered, and he turned into a ray of white light, directly grabbing at the round white jade platform beneath City Lord Mu. One hidden samsara. Chapter 491. In the blink of an eye, he moved as fast as lightning. When Li Beihan attacked, no one in the netherworld realm could resist his one move. So, no one could stop him at that moment. Whoosh! Li Beihan's power made the entire 18th layer of the netherworld city freeze. Time and space seemed to stop. That was the power of the reincarnation realm, or the power of the eternal realm. Sumo, Yi Kanshing, and the other reincarnators all remembered that power, but they couldn't use it at all. That kind of power could indeed make them invincible in the netherworld city. At that moment, except for Sumo, everyone was imprisoned. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen were both at the peak of the World Breaker realm. But in front of Li Beihan's power, they couldn't resist at all. And the reason Sumo was fine was that she had a holy lotus jade pendant. Li Beihan's slender and powerful hand went straight to the center of the white jade platform. But in the eyes of Sumo and the others, there was nothing in the center of the white jade platform. The platform was as smooth as a mirror, emitting a faint halo. But then, something strange happened. Following Li Beihan's grasping motion, the white jade platform actually emitted a strange brilliance like ripples on water. At that moment, both the reincarnators of the three realms and the netherworld cultivators changed their expressions. A smile appeared at the corner of Li Beihan's mouth. Because what he sensed was right. The 18th layer didn't just have the sleeping undying beauty, there were other existences. Looking at the water ripples, a figure suddenly appeared. It was the figure of a woman. That female cultivator had been hiding in the white jade platform all along. Whoosh! As soon as the figure of the female cultivator appeared, she suddenly waved her hand. A beam of purple light went straight to Li Beihan. Eternal power! Li Beihan raised his eyebrows and took a step back. Then, he raised his hand. A white lotus suddenly appeared in his palm. The lotus was sparkling and translucent, like white jade or crystal. Sizzle! The purple light broke through the air, as if it wanted to break Li Beihan's imprisonment. But as soon as the white lotus appeared, it directly covered the purple light and gradually absorbed it. An ancient lotus cultivator. The female cultivator's voice was full of surprise. However, anyone could hear the weakness in that female cultivator's voice. Li Beihan held the white lotus in his hand and did not attack again. Because his white lotus had already taken control of the situation. The female cultivator was completely under his control. "Miss, nice to meet you. You seem to have been hiding for a long time." Li Beihan smiled. "But if you don't attack, I won't hurt you." Hearing this, the female cultivator didn't attack again. In fact, she did not have the ability to attack again. At this moment, the cultivators present finally saw the female cultivator's appearance. She was dressed in blue, and her face was extremely beautiful. Her charm was extraordinary, and her temperament was extraordinary. However, her face was extremely pale, without a trace of blood. Bai Wangchen's face was already pale enough. However, compared to this female cultivator, it was not even worth mentioning. Soul body. All the cultivators present could see that the female cultivator was not a real physical body, but a soul body. An extremely weak soul body. Others looked at this female cultivator in surprise. However, Sumo's eyes were filled with astonishment. "Miss Yi." Sumo was stunned. No matter what, she did not expect to meet Yi Wuhui here. However, Sumo immediately became hesitant, because she had seen two Yi Wuhui. Sumo. Yi Wuhui also did not expect to see Sumo here. His eyes were filled with endless joy. At the same time, there were tears in her eyes. "Sumo, save me." Yi Wuhui's voice was very weak. Her soul body originally wanted to take over someone else's body. However, it was extracted from the white jade platform by Li Beihan. It won't be long before she dissipates. But you are. Sumo was a little hesitant. With his current eyesight, he could not see through a lifetime immortal-level cultivator. He could not distinguish between the real and fake Yi Wuhui. Sumo, I am Yi Wuhui. Yi Wuhui hurriedly said. Which Yi Wuhui? Sumo asked. Yi Wuhui was slightly stunned, then frowned. Have you seen her? Yes. I have seen two of you. Sumo stared at Yi Wuhui and said, Tianfu City and another you. And she once wanted to kill me. Hee. Yi Wuhui laughed bitterly. Then I dragged you into this. Ding ding dang dang. Ding ding dang dang. Looking again, Yi Wuhui's sleeves were slightly fluttering. A string of purple wind chimes was now at the corner of her sleeves. The sound of the wind chimes was crisp and pleasant. It was like an extremely distant dream. If not for the sound, many people would have thought that the dream had disappeared. Because it was the Yi family's purple wind chimes. The appearance of the wind chimes proved her identity. Sumo, do you remember the time in Nanyue Prefecture where we rode horses and whips? Do you remember the time when we traveled west and saw the most beautiful starry sky and night? Do you remember the time when I gave you a puppet, accompanied by a ghostly shadow, wishing you peace? Yi Wuhui had a smile at the corner of her mouth and tears in her eyes. However, Sumo could understand every word she said, because it was the past of Yi Wuhui and Sumo. In Northwest Prefecture, after Sumo entered Siyun Villa, there was no news of her. In fact, Yi Wuhui had been looking for her. Unfortunately, she encountered an accident and almost lost her life. Sumo, I have been looking for you. Yi Wuhui's soul was actually on the verge of collapse, as if it was about to dissipate. Sumo, save me. After saying those 4 words, Yi Wuhui could not hold on any longer. Suddenly, her body swayed and was about to fall from midair. Save her! Save her! 2 screams came from the entire 18th floor of Underworld City. One of them belonged to Sumo, while the other one belonged to Yi Kansheng. Li Beihan did not expect this female cultivator to know Sumo, and it seemed that they were quite close. There was no time to think. The white lotus in Li Beihan's hand shook violently and flew out, then immediately bloomed. The entire cave was filled with a fragrance, and the spiritual qi was like a tide. The white lotus expanded to a radius of 1 zhang and directly supported Yi Wuhui. At the same time, the purple light that Yi Wuhui released just now was directly reflected back to Yi Wuhui. In fact, it was Yi Wuhui's last immortal power. Just like that, Yi Wuhui's soul condensed again, and her complexion improved slightly. Thank you. Yi Wuhui thanked Li Beihan. However, her illusory body directly fell towards Sumo. Sumo, Yi Wuhui smiled gently. Only Sumo had seen this kind of smile before. Even Sumo did not know that she had already planted a seed in Yi Wuhui's heart. To Yi Wuhui, Sumo was a special existence. It's you. Sumo was also a little excited. Without hesitation, she gently supported Yi Wuhui. However, Yi Wuhui's soul did not have any weight. What's going on? Who hurt you? Sumo hurriedly asked. One had to know that Yi Wuhui was an immortal existence. In the entire Pure Land, no one could hurt her. Hee. Yi Wuhui lay in Sumo's arms reluctantly. Although she might die, it was good enough to be in Sumo's arms at the last moment. Sister wants to kill me? Yi Wuhui said faintly. There was not the slightest bit of resentment in her tone, only endless disappointment and disappointment. Sister? Chapter 492. Twin Sisters? Sumo frowned slightly when she heard that. The 2 Yi Wuhuis were almost identical except for their different personalities. They were definitely not simply twin sisters. Actually, according to Sumo's understanding, the relationship between the 2 Yi Wuhuis might be similar to Xiao Luo and Murong Huang's. A demon twin. Unfortunately, Sumo understood that there must be a difference. At the same time, Yi Sanqing's heart skipped a beat when he heard Yi Wuhui's words. Twin sisters? However, in his memory, the Yi family had never had a twin. Not even a man or a woman. Could it be that this female cultivator was not a member of the Yi family? Indeed, when Yi Xingbai rushed back to Muyin Villa, the entire villa had already collapsed and fallen into the abyss. In Yi Sanqing's memory, everyone in Muyin Villa was dead. Annihilation. Not a single member of the Yi family was left alive. That was Yi Xingbai's deepest pain and suffering. That was because he still did not know the cause and process of everything until now. He only accepted a painful outcome. Therefore, even if he reincarnated, he would never forget that pain. The cultivators of the three realms who died before the galaxy era could not be reincarnated even if they were in the eternal realm, unless they were reborn in the galaxy era. But the Yi family did not have anyone like that. In Yi Sanqing's opinion, he was the only one left in the Yi family. The Yi Wuhui in front of him might not be a member of the Yi family. But if he wasn't, how could he explain the purple wind chimes? The purple wind chimes were unique to the Yi family of the three realms. Even if it was an imitation, it could not be passed off as the genuine one. Yi Kanxing was sure that the purple wind chimes were genuine. Most importantly, this girl's surname was Yi. There would not be so many coincidences between the worlds. Miss Yi, may I ask where did you get the wind chimes from? Yi Kanxing asked. Wind chimes. Yi Wuhui looked at the wind chimes, then looked at Yi Kanxing. He forced a smile. That's something I've had with me since I was young. It's passed down in my family. It's called the purple wind chimes. Originally, it was used to practice Mu Yun's movement technique. Now it's the only thing I have left. What's your name? Yi Kanxing tried his best to control his emotions. Huh! Yi Wuhui was stunned. My name is Yi Wuhui. No. I'm asking for your name in Muyin Villa. Yi Sanqing's tone was a little heavy. At this moment, he was inclined to believe that Yi Wuhui was a member of Muyin Villa. Muyin Villa? Yi Wuhui's eyes shone with a strange light, but that light disappeared in an instant. Because everything could only be in a dream. I didn't expect that there would be someone in the Yizang world who knows about the three realms Muyin Villa. Yi Wuhui's eyes were even dimmer than her soul. Because she knew that she was the only one left of the Yi family's bloodline. Or rather, her elder sister. Muyin Villa only existed in the memories of an extremely small number of people. Yi Xinger. Yi Wuhui's face showed a hint of shyness. Actually, I didn't have an official name when I was young. Because the entire villa doted on me. They all called me Little Princess. Great-grandfather, great-grandmother, and the other elders all called me that. I also have two older brothers. A blissful smile flashed across Yi Wuhui's face. Big brother is called Yi Xingmu. Second brother is called Yi Xingbai. So, I gave myself a name, Xinger. Big brother was very good to me. Ever since I was young, he always doted on me. Unfortunately, he died. I've never seen second brother before. Because, before I was born, he went out to train. I heard from the elders in the clan that he couldn't return to the villa. Yi Wuhui's voice became softer and softer. It was not that her strength had weakened, but she did not want to remember the past. However, when she mentioned second brother, she saw tears in Yi Sanqing's eyes. At that moment, Yi Wuhui seemed to have thought of something, and her heart could not help but tremble. She looked at Yi Kanxing, her eyes filled with shock. Yi Kanxing was very ugly. That kind of ugliness was not normal for a cultivator. Yi Wuhui thought of Yi Xingmu. The cultivator in front of her looked very similar to her big brother. However, even Yi Wuhui did not dare to believe what she was thinking. For many tens of thousands of years, Yi Wuhui had never thought that there was still someone alive in the Yi family. To Yi Wuhui, second brother Yi Xingbai was more like a legend. Back then, when Bu Miaotian massacred the Muyin Villa, He killed everyone except himself. Later, even the galaxy was destroyed. Where was there anyone left? Where was there a family? If not for Yi Sanqing's question, Yi Wuhui would not have mentioned it at all. But now, she saw that Yi Sanqing's eyes were already brimming with tears. At the same time, a purple cloud gradually formed between his brows. The heir of the Yi family. Yi Wuhui's body trembled. His soul almost could not bear the excitement. Fortunately, Li Beihan, the White Lotus, had been keeping Yi Wuhui together. That White Lotus could ensure that Yi Wuhui's soul would not dissipate. Li Beihan felt a little impulsive now. He did not know that Yi Wuhui had such a deep relationship with the Three Realms galaxy. Mu Yun of the Three Realms. Who didn't know that the Moon Villa was the most powerful lineage in the Azure realm? Yi Xingbai was the purest Yi bloodline and the only heir of the Yi family. No other member of the Yi family had that mark. Only one person in each generation of the Yi family could have that purple cloud. Yi Wuhui knew all of this. Yi Wuhui did not dare to ask further. Little sister. Yi Kanqing took 2 steps forward and grabbed Yi Wuhui's illusory arm. I am your second brother, Yi Xingbai. But I've been reincarnated. I didn't expect there to be someone else alive in the Yi family besides me. Second brother? Yi Wuhui was both sad and happy at the same time. There was someone alive in the Yi family. That was what she wanted to say. She had guessed right. That was indeed Yi Xingbai. Yi Wuhui hugged Yi Kanqing and burst into tears. Unfortunately, her soul no longer had tears. Only wisps of tear-like soul chi dispersed. Little sister. Yi Kanqing had never thought about it before. There was actually someone of the same bloodline in this world. For a moment, tears rolled down her cheeks. She had lived 2 lives, but she could still see her family again. No one could understand that feeling. Sumo and Mo Wenqing, by Wang Chun, Yu Wuji, and Zhao Xiu were all sighing. Back then, the massacre of Moon Villa by the soulless Taoist had shocked the Three Realms. It was not the Dark Lord's order but Qi Zi's. Mu Yun of the Three Realms was so powerful. But in one day, his entire family was wiped out. The Yi family no longer existed. In fact, if one thought about it carefully, even the galaxy was broken. When the nest was overturned, how could there be intact eggs? That was the sorrow of the galaxy cultivators. In a sense, they were all wandering in Yizong. That was why they gathered together. For the glory of the galaxy, to return to their home. The reunion of Yi Wuhui and Yi Kanqing made people sigh. But they were all cultivators, so they quickly calmed down. Because there were still many important things to do. Little sister, we have time to talk about what happened back then. What happened to you now? Yi Kanqing asked. What happened to your body? Sumo also asked. It's a long story. Yi Wuhui had just reunited with his brother, but he still liked to talk to Sumo. Sumo, I asked you to help me enter Seun Villa to get the 3-inch puppet. However, I lost contact with your aura. I was afraid that you would be in danger. Thus, I barged into an existence that, to me, is a forbidden area. Sumo's heart warmed. Because Yi Wuhui had said that day, Sumo, don't worry. If anything happens to you, I will save you even if I have to die. I won't let you die. Yi Wuhui did it. I'm fine. A smile flashed across Yi Wuhui's face. I was outside the gate of the villa. I cast a spell and knew everything you experienced. It's good that you're fine. Thank you, Sumo. Yi Wuhui raised his head and said to Sumo very seriously. This sentence was also what she wanted to say to Sumo back then. Unfortunately, there was no chance. Chapter 493. Everyone's thanks actually had different meanings. Yi Wuhui thanked Sumo not only because Sumo seemed to have gone to get the doll for her, but also because she had an inexplicable dependence and affection for Sumo. That feeling was indescribable and indescribable. In fact, the moment he saw Sumo, Yi Wuhui felt that all the pain had been reduced by half. That kind of emotion was wonderful. I helped you get that 3-inch doll, Sumo said. Yi Wuhui nodded gently. I know. But I can't do it in my current state. I'll leave that doll with you for the time being. It has no meaning to others. As long as it doesn't fall into my sister's hands. Sister again? Sumo and Yi Kanshing couldn't help but look at each other. They felt that there was something fishy about this matter. Especially Yi Kanshing. But in the current situation, it was not appropriate to ask too much. What about your injury? Sumo asked. In fact, for Sumo, he had many ways to reforge his physical body. It was a pity that his cultivation stage restricted everything, so he could only ask Yi Wuhui. Yi Wuhui should understand the laws of the hidden world better than him. Cough, cough. Yi Wuhui coughed lightly, but shook his head and didn't say anything. Because of her special physique, there were not many methods that she could use. The rest of the methods seemed to be useless. At this moment, if not for the support of Li Beihan's White Lotus, she would have been unable to hold on. To save her, there may be only one feasible way left. The one who spoke was Li Beihan. What way? Sumo asked. Li Beihan first cupped his fist at Yi Wuhui and said, Miss Yi, I didn't know you were a galactic cultivator just now. I was too reckless, please forgive me. Just now, I cut off your path of possession. Now, I'll offer you an ancient method to reforge your fleshly body as compensation. Path of possession? Hearing this, the cultivators of Nether City frowned. There was only one cultivator on the 18th floor of the Nether City, and that was the Nether City Lord. Could it be that Yi Wuhui was hiding in the White Jade platform to take over City Lord Mu's body? Thinking of this, Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen and the 5 clan leaders felt a trace of displeasure in their hearts. However, Sumo and Yi Kanshing were both here, so they couldn't say anything. Yi Wuhui naturally thought of this as well. Thus, she forced a smile and said, Everyone, please don't misunderstand. I am not here to possess the Lord of the Underworld City. Besides, I can't use your City Lord's body at all. I just need the special spiritual energy of the 18th level to nourish my soul. Actually, as long as I stay here for 10 years, I will be able to possess the power of possession. Unfortunately, I was interrupted and can no longer start over. Special Spirit Qi. Mo Wenqing interrupted. Yes. Yi Wuhui said, because of the existence of your City Lord. The 18th level of the Nether City is filled with strange yin and yang qi. You must know that yin and yang qi can nourish all living things. From a certain perspective, this place is a treasure trove. It's just that ordinary cultivators are not allowed to cultivate here. Oh. Mo Wenqing asked, why not? Because you will become yin and yang people. Yi Wuhui smiled mischievously. In the entire world, there are not many people as wonderful as your City Lord. Mo Wenqing, Bai Wuming and the rest all looked awkward. However, they faintly felt that Yi Wuhui's words were not a joke, but the truth. In a while, they were prepared to awaken the City Lord. However, with the current situation of City Lord Mu, no one could figure out the reason. Brotherly, what method do you have to help her reconstruct her body? Sumo didn't care about anything else and asked directly. Li Beihan laughed. I can give her a lotus seed. However, everything after that will depend on Miss Ye's own luck. Lotus body? Yi Wuhui's eyes lit up slightly. Because she had heard that there was a type of ancient lotus in the ancient lotus galaxy, called the immortal bathing lotus. It could help a cultivator reconstruct their body. Moreover, the body reconstructed by the immortal bathing lotus was far better than an ordinary immortal body. The immortal bathing lotus was known as one of the 3 extraordinary bodies of the Izong world, and there were very few people who possessed it. This was because the immortal bathing lotus was extremely difficult to cultivate and was almost extinct. In the entire Izong world, there were only a few cultivators who possessed seed. Who are you? Yi Wuhui asked Li Beihan. Just now, she was hiding in the round white jade platform and forgot about everything around her, so she didn't know what was going on. Although she had seen through Li Beihan's identity as an ancient lotus cultivator during the battle, not any ancient lotus cultivator could take out the immortal bathing lotus. You really have the immortal bathing lotus seed? Yi Wuhui was a little skeptical. Miss Yi, my surname is Li, and my name is Beihan. Li Beihan smiled at Yi Wuhui. This was because he knew that since Yi Wuhui had been in the Yizong world for many years and was an immortal cultivator, she would definitely understand what he was saying. Li? Yi Wuhui's expression changed slightly. A cultivator with the surname Li from the ancient Lotus Galaxy? Are you from the great Li celestial dynasty of the ancient Lotus Galaxy? Yes. Li Beihan smiled. Do you know the former Three Realms Sacred Lotus? Yi Wuhui asked again. The Three Realms Sacred Lotus is my father. Li Beihan replied. The Sacred Lotus King is your father? Yi Wuhui's eyes flashed with surprise. Sumo and the others only knew that Li Shui, the ancient Sacred Lotus, was the brother of the Holy Father Amu, and was extremely talented. Later, he mysteriously disappeared from the Three Realms. They had never known Li Shui's true identity. Even Sumo did not know. Ancient Lotus Galaxy, Great Li Celestial Dynasty, Sacred Lotus King. This combination was enough to shock anyone. It seemed that Li Shui had become a venerable long ago. However, at this moment, only Yi Wuhui understood what the Great Li Dynasty meant in the Yizong world, and what kind of existence the Sacred Lotus King was. It was not just a matter of being a venerable. However, venerables were not the top existences in the Yizong world. The Great Li Celestial Dynasty was an existence that almost controlled the entire Dongyi galaxy. Even the corpseless sect, known as the number one sect in the Yizong world, did not dare to offend them. Li Beihan, the crown prince of the Great Li Dynasty. Even in the entire Yizong world, this status was considered extremely high. Greetings, Crown Prince of the Great Li Dynasty. At this moment Yi Wuhui smiled. She believed that Li Beihan could take out the celestial bathing lotus seed. Li Beihan did not waste any time and directly pinched it with one hand. When he looked again, he saw that a lotus head had suddenly emerged from the white lotus, and then a milky white lotus seed jumped out like a star. The celestial bathing lotus seed. The value of this lotus seed could not be measured at all, because even if it was priceless, there was no market. Li Beihan pointed with one hand. The lotus seed was not directly given to Yi Wuhui, but floated in front of Sumo. Brother Su, this is for you. Li Beihan smiled. The celestial bathing lotus is a strange flower. Its entire body is a treasure, and it can be said to have endless uses. A single lotus could bear 9 lotus seeds. If carefully cultivated, it can grow and multiply endlessly. However, it needs the pure water celestial soil and cannot be contaminated with the slightest bit of vulgarity. At the same time, it needs a cultivator's 3 souls qi to nourish it regularly before it can be cultivated. Then, after 3,000 years, it can bloom. If it blooms several times, just one can be used to forge a body. Brother Su, let's not talk about the 3 souls qi for now. First, do you have a place to cultivate it? No problem. Sumo nodded. I have a mystic realm that can cultivate lotuses. Mobile version of the fastest updated website. Chapter 494. A mystic realm that could grow lotuses. Sumo's words stunned Li Beihan. Actually, he was prepared to find a good place for Sumo. After all, the immortal bathing lotus had very high requirements for growing it. A normal cave abode would not do. However, he did not expect Sumo to say that there was a mystic realm. Really? Li Beihan asked. Of course. Sumo smiled. Pure land, immortal water, everything. Impressive. Li Beihan nodded with a smile. You are indeed the former ruler of the 3 realms. It seems that you have a backup plan. You should know that if you had such a mystic realm, its value would be immeasurable. I have many immortal plants in my flower valley, Sumo said. But what is the chi of the three souls? The three souls are the mortal soul, the immortal soul, and the reincarnation soul, Yi Wuhui interrupted. Actually, these are the three major stages of a cultivator in the Yizong realm. Every cultivator who completes a stage will gather a strand of soul energy in his Dan-si. Huh! Sumo was stunned. Doesn't that mean that only cultivators at the complete rebirth state can grow the immortal bathing lotus? Hee. Li Beihan nodded with a smile. More or less. Otherwise, if everyone could grow the immortal bathing lotus, wouldn't the Yizong realm be filled with flowers? Sumo was in a difficult position, because his cultivation level was too low. Now, he did not even have the mortal soul energy. How could he grow the lotus? But Brother Su, don't be anxious. Li Beihan smiled. You said that only cultivators at the complete rebirth state can grow the immortal bathing lotus. More accurately, you have to harvest the immortal bathing lotus. Sumo immediately understood. You mean that I can grow it first, then use my soul energy to nourish the ancient lotus when I reach the corresponding cultivation level. And to harvest the real ancient lotus, one must be a cultivator at the complete rebirth state. Am I right? That's right, Li Beihan said. But there's a time limit. In the first 1,000 years, you must cultivate the mortal soul chi. In the second 1,000 years, you must cultivate the immortal soul chi. In the last 1,000 years, you must cultivate the reincarnation soul chi. After 3,000 years, without the nourishment of the three types of soul energies, the ancient lotus will die and never bloom again. This is why the immortal bathing ancient lotus is so rare. Moreover, a cultivator can only plant one immortal bathing ancient lotus in their lifetime. Almost all the cultivators in the cave were startled by Li Beihan's words. At this time, except for Li Beihan, everyone else in the cave residence only had mortal soul chi at most. As for Sumo, she had not even cultivated the mortal soul chi. There was still a long way to go from the middle stage of the undead realm to the burial god realm. Of course, it would not be a problem for Sumo to cultivate mortal soul chi. But even so, he would have to reach the sempiternal realm within 2,000 years at the very latest. Then, in the next 1,000 years, he would cultivate reincarnation soul chi. One must know that among them, apart from Sumo, which one of them did not cultivate to the undead realm in 10,000 years. 3,000 years to reach the rebirth state? Not even in their dreams. Any one of the realms could take 10,000 years, let alone two. Even reincarnators could not do it. After awakening, their cultivation speed would indeed be several times faster than ordinary cultivators. But that would take time. How many realms are there in the rebirth state? What realm is it compared to the three realms? Sumo asked Li Beihan solemnly. The sempiternal realm is the peak of the sempiternal realm. After the sempiternal realm, one can break through to the rebirth state. In fact, there are only two realms in the rebirth state: the 5 signs of decay and the first life reincarnation realm. The 5 signs of decay is a great tribulation for a cultivator. Almost all cultivators will have their cultivation reduced and become mortals for thousands of years. During that time, their memories will be erased. Then, they will go through all kinds of tribulations and become immortals. However, the entire process is different from person to person. Reduce one's cultivation, erase one's memories, and become immortal for 1,000 years. Sumo asked with a frown. That's right, Li Beihan said. Of course, I'm talking about the general situation. Actually, there are many grand cultivators who take a different path to the 5 signs of decay. For example, my father. Oh! Sumo and the others were stunned. I won't hide it from you all. Li Beihan smiled. My father appeared in the 3 realms back then because he was undergoing the 5 signs of decay. Although it's rare to undergo a tribulation in another world, It's not unheard of in the Izong realm. However, something special happened to my father during his 5 signs of decay. That's why he was only summoned back to the Izong realm during the demon-sealing war of the 3 realms. Transcending a tribulation? Sumo and the others were shocked. Even Sumo did not dare to imagine such a thing. What kind of training would that be? The one-life reincarnation state has a total of 9 levels. Li Beihan continued. Cultivation in the various realms actually leads to the same destination. It basically corresponds to the 9 levels of the eternal realm in the 3 realms. Once you step through the one-life reincarnation state, you'll be able to possess reincarnated soul energy. In other words, I need to recover to the supremacy realm within 3,000 years. The corners of Sumo's mouth curled into a cold smile. That's right. However, the supremacy realm you speak of is called the Lotus realm in the Izong realm. Li Beihan said. However, you really only have 3,000 years. The only thing that's beneficial to you is that reincarnators may not have the so-called 5 signs of decay. Because you've already reincarnated. Haha. It doesn't matter whether I have it or not. Sumo smiled coldly. 3,000 years is enough. This lotus seed, I want it. I'll definitely grow an immortal bathing lotus. Hiss, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard Sumo's words. Although they all knew that Sumo was the reincarnation of the Dark Sovereign, this was still a little shocking. Yi Wuhui's soul body looked at Sumo with bright eyes. This man was even more extraordinary in her heart. In fact, there was another thing that Sumo wanted to say. That was, he would also revive the Hell Lilies at the same time. Because he needed more power. He wanted to gather everything that had once belonged to the 3 realms. The cave abode with the soul storage altar could definitely make everything successful. But where had Amu gone? Where had the supremacies of the 3 realms reincarnated to? Brother Su, your words are worthy of being the former ruler of the 3 realms. Li Beihan cupped his fists at Sumo emotionally. 3,000 years will pass in the blink of an eye. There are actually many people waiting for you in the Izong realm. Li Beihan's words had a deep meaning, but he didn't continue. Sumo could read from Li Beihan's eyes. Whether it was Li Beihan or the sacred lotus behind him, there must still be restraints and fetters. Therefore, Sumo directly put the lotus seed into her storage pouch. In fact, it fell directly into Sumo's tattered cloth pouch. Li Beihan's eyes couldn't help but narrow slightly. Because he knew that an ordinary storage pouch couldn't contain the immortal bathing lotus seed. Miss Yi, I want to take back this white lotus. Do you have a place to temporarily store your soul? Li Beihan asked Yi Wuhui. You have to know that you have to endure for 3,000 years. Yes. Yi Wuhui frowned and nodded, then looked at Sumo and said, Sumo, is Ghastly Shadow still around? Chapter 495. Whoosh, Sumo gently patted her storage pouch. With a flash of purple light, a puppet instantly landed inside the cave abode. Ghostly Shadow pays its respects to Master. The ghostly Shadow's voice was hoarse as it knelt on one knee. She was still dressed in a purple robe, and her appearance was 80 to 90% similar to Yi Wuhui's. However, her eyes lacked a trace of true intelligence. In the eyes of a great cultivator, she was just a puppet that could not be mistaken for a real one. I've always kept her by my side, Sumo said to Yi Wuhui with a smile. Yi Wuhui nodded. Sumo, I can temporarily attach myself to the ghostly shadow. However, that way, the ghostly shadow will lose its combat power, and will only be a vessel for my soul. It doesn't matter, Sumo hurriedly said. Can you guarantee that your soul won't dissipate? 1,000 years, no problem. Yi Wuhui said, because when I gave you this puppet, I left a part of my soul in it. Left a part of your soul? Sumo could not help but be stunned. Yi Wuhui nodded. Fortunately, her soul was extremely weak, otherwise, her cheeks would definitely be rosy. Back then, she left a part of her soul in the ghostly shadow to deal with unexpected situations. In fact, as long as the ghostly shadow was shattered, that part of her soul would fly out to save Sumo. That part of her soul had the power of a lifetime. However, Sumo was extremely cautious when using the ghostly shadow, so that extreme situation had never happened. Now, this part of her soul was of great use. At this moment, Yi Wuhui's soul moved and directly flew into the ghostly shadow puppet's forehead. In an instant, the ghostly shadow's eyes had a glimmer of light. Yi Wuhui greets everyone again. The ghostly shadow's body was Yi Wuhui's soul. At this moment, the ghostly shadow already had a soul. However, Li Beihan frowned. Miss Yi, just like that, you've become immortal? Li Beihan was in the realm of one reincarnation. If Yi Wuhui was a grand cultivator, there was no way he wouldn't be able to tell. The only explanation was that Yi Wuhui had entrusted his soul to Ghastly Shadow's body, so he would become an existence like a mortal. That's right. Yi Wuhui smiled sadly. That's right. Only when my divine soul flies out will Ghastly Shadow have the ability to fight. However, if my soul doesn't have any special protection, it can only last a quarter of an hour after leaving Spirit Shadow's puppet body. When the time is up, my soul will scatter and I will never be able to reincarnate. Your divine soul is a bit special, and the damage you've suffered is even more special. There aren't many things in the universe that you can entrust your soul to, Li Beihan said. Yes. Yi Wuhui nodded. In the whole Pure Land, only the Jiu Nether City is safe for me. As for the other places, I'll find them as soon as I go out. Your enemy seems to be very powerful? Li Beihan smiled faintly. The Corpseless sect is indeed powerful. I'm not an enemy. Yi Wuhui denied Li Beihan's statement. In her heart, she really didn't want to treat her elder sister, who wanted to kill her, as an enemy. Actually, it wasn't that she didn't want to, but she had never thought of them as enemies. Elder sister. After all, she was still her elder sister. Sumo, I might have to follow you every day in the future. Yi Wuhui suddenly looked at Sumo and smiled slyly. However, you can just keep me in your storage. My divine soul doesn't allow me to exist like a normal person. I actually have to sleep most of the time. That way, I can nourish my soul. No problem. Sumo smiled and said, I can find you 2 pets, and I can also find you a safe cave abode. No need. Yi Wuhui shook his head. I'll be in your storage bag. Yi Kanshing originally wanted to let Yi Wuhui follow him. However, when he saw the situation in front of him, he couldn't help but sigh bitterly. His real elder brother didn't seem to be as important as Sumo at all. Demon King, please take care of my little sister. Yi Kanshing smiled at Sumo, but his tone became more solemn. Yi Wuhui, who was at the side, felt that he seemed to have neglected his elder brother, and couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Big brother Yi, don't worry. Sumo nodded. In theory, it was indeed safer for Yi Wuhui to follow him than Yi Kanshing. At the critical moment, the probability of Sumo escaping was much higher than Yi Kanshing. Is the Corpseless sect, or should I say Tianfu City, ready to take action against Nine Nether? Seeing that Yi Wuhui was temporarily fine, Sumo asked. Actually, he still had many doubts about Yi Wuhui's background, but he asked the key question first. This question was also what Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and the others wanted to ask. Yi Wuhui heard and shook his head. Probably not. Actually, in the entire Dongyi Star region, Nine Nether City is nothing much. Yi Wuhui sighed. If Tianfu City makes any moves against Nine Nether City, it's most likely to be to find me. It was most likely because they were looking for me. It should have nothing to do with anything else. After all, the Corpseless sect seems to be quite satisfied with Nine Nether City, and even the entire Pure Land. Satisfied? Mo Wenqing couldn't help but laugh coldly. Is it because we are content with the status quo, willing to be enslaved, and don't make any moves? Speak the truth. Yes. Yi Wuhui smiled apologetically. Miss Yi, what is your position in the corpse-less sect? Bai Wangchen asked. What position? Yi Wuhui couldn't help but frown, as if she hadn't made a clear estimation of her position, or she wasn't clear about it. The corpse-less sect is extremely huge. Yi Wuhui thought for a while and said, it has many branches in the entire Dongi Star region. However, the entire Dongi Star region is divided into 3 star zones. However, I don't have my own star zone, because the internal affairs of the sect actually have nothing to do with me. My 2 senior brothers and sister are each in charge of a sector. I'm the only one who lives freely and doesn't care about worldly affairs. However, I can travel and stay in any star zone. Ancestral Master said that I'm the patrol ambassador. Yi Wuhui's eyes brightened up. Star zone? 2 senior brothers? Ancestral Master? Sumo and the others listened to his answer, but they still had many questions in their hearts. How big is a star zone? Mo Wenqing asked. 1,000 small worlds. Yi Wuhui said, like a small world like the Pure Land. 3 star zones, a total of 3,000 small worlds. This answer was the same as what Li Beihan had said just now. Who's your senior brother, and who's ancestral master? Also, what's the matter with that sister? Yi Kanxing finally couldn't help but ask a series of questions. Yi Wuhui looked at Yi Kanxing and said, Second brother, it seems that you don't know the cause and effect of everything that happened in Moon Villa back then? Yi Kanxing raised an eyebrow. Back then, when I returned to the villa, it had already fallen into an abyss. After that, I killed soulless Taoists to avenge myself. However, I have a feeling that things aren't that simple. What's the truth? At this moment, a trace of pain and sorrow flashed across Yi Wuhui's eyes. Second brother, in the entire Muyin villa back then, no one except me survived. They're all dead. When she said this, Yi Wuhui's body trembled slightly. It was something that had been sealed in the depths of her memory. Second brother, do you know whose bloodline we are? Whose bloodline? Yi Kanxing was stunned. Of course, it's the Yi family's bloodline. Actually, it's not just the Yi family. Yi Wuhui shook his head. The blood of the 3 realms ghost prodigy flows in our veins. His name is Bu Miaotian. The 3 realms ghost prodigy Bu Miaotian. Almost all the cultivators present had never heard of this person, including Li Beihan, Yi Kanxing, Yu Wuji, Mo Wenqing, and Bai Wang, the 3 realms reincarnators. However, Sumo and Zhao Xiu's expressions suddenly changed. Chapter 496. In the vast universe, there were many realms. The 3 realms galaxy was perhaps just a drop in the ocean of the vast universe, but to Sumo, Zhao Xiu, and the others, it was their home. There were as many cultivators in the 3 realms as there were stars in the sky, but supremacies were few and far between. Immortal supremacies, nether supremacies, ghost supremacies, demon supremacies, divine kings, and monster supremacies were the only true supremacies in the 3 realms era. At that time, the one closest to supremacies was not profound heaven, stellar star, upper evil, or dragon saliva, but the spectral prodigy of the 3 realms, Bu Miaotian. Spectral prodigy was not a realm, but a title. It represented the recognition of Bu Miaotian by the top cultivators of that era. Although he did not become a supremacy, he was closer to it than any cultivator who was not yet a supremacy. In some areas, he was even stronger than supremacies. Back then, many cultivators of the same level did not understand why Bu Miaotian did not become a supremacy. He should have been the 8th supremacy, standing at the peak of the 3 realms. Bu Miaotian. Yi Kanxing looked at Sumo. The spectral prodigy of the 3 realms. Sumo nodded, then sighed. He was once the strongest cultivator in the 3 realms apart from the supremacies. He was only a hair's breadth away from becoming a supremacy, far surpassing those so-called half-step supremacies. Below the venerable ones of the same generation, Phoenix, Heaven Evil, and Dragon's Saliva cannot be compared to him. Sumo could not help but look at Zhao Xiu when he said this. Zhao Xiu nodded. Sumo's words were absolutely correct. There was indeed a huge gap between them and Bu Miaotian. But then Phoenix became a supremacy. Bu Miaotian disappeared from the three realms for some unknown reason. Everything about him has always been a mystery. He became a soulless Taoist. Yi Wuhui spoke again. A soulless Taoist? Yi Kanxing frowned. How many soulless Taoists are there in the three realms? 81, said Yi Wuhui. They were the strongest cultivators below the supremacy level in the three realms. At the same time, their hearts are filled with unwillingness. That obsession prevented them from entering the 6 paths of reincarnation, preventing them from showing their true bodies. They once shared a common vessel, which was a set of purple clothes. It was said that Qi Zi had given it to them. Thus, the soulless Taoist was once controlled by the child of the three realms. But they can't possess each other at the same time. At most, 2 souls could exist at the same time. Moreover, Zi has restricted their strength. Otherwise, they would be even more terrifying. Back then, even Shang Xie was trapped within. The ghost prodigy of the three realms and Shang Xie were the only soulless Taoist who managed to escape from Purple Dress's control. They are free. Yi Kanxing and Sumo both nodded. They knew some of Yi Wuhui's words. King Mu was the soulless Taoist who appeared the most frequently. As for why Scarlet was able to control them, it was a mystery. That purple robe was, in fact, jointly destroyed by him and Shen Yan. Back then, Yi Xingbai didn't understand why his opponents kept changing. So that was why. Little sister, what does all this have to do with the Yi family? Yi Kanxing asked. Ha! Yi Wuhui sneered. The soulless Taoist all have obsessions and unfulfilled wishes. The obsession of the ghost prodigy of the three realms is the Yi family. The Yi family? Does he have a grudge against the Yi family? Yi Kanxing asked. It's not just a grudge. Yi Wuhui shook her head helplessly. Bu Miaotian was an extremely complicated existence in her heart. The Yi family's first ancestral master was actually the wife of the ghost prodigy of the three realms. Yi Wuhui's eyes were filled with confusion. It was indeed a past and choice that she couldn't understand. Ancestral Master Muyun? Yi Kanxing frowned. The ancestral master of the Muyun of the three realms and the Muyun Villa was a female cultivator, Yimun. This was no secret in the Muyun Villa. However, the story of ancestral master Muyun was only passed down by the Yi family's guardian ancestral master. Back then, Yi Xingbai didn't have the chance to receive such an inheritance. Yes. In fact, everyone in the Yi family is the descendant of ancestral master Muyun and the ghost prodigy of the three realms. Yi Wuhui smiled sadly. That's why we all have the blood of the ghost prodigy of the three realms in us. Second brother, the purple cloud mark on your forehead is actually the mark of the ghost prodigy of the three realms. The mark on Yi Sanqing's forehead reappeared when he heard this. At the same time, he looked at Sumo. Sumo narrowed her eyes and focused on the mark, then nodded lightly. It was indeed the mark of the ghost prodigy of the three realms, Bu Miaotian. A mixture of love and hate. Yi Wuhui let out a long sigh. Unfortunately, her puppet body couldn't cry. Otherwise, Yi Wuhui would have burst into tears already. Back then, the ghost prodigy of the three realms cultivated wholeheartedly for the sake of becoming a supremacy. He almost lost his mind because he misunderstood ancestral master Muyun and left in a rage. After that, he died for some unknown reason and became a soulless being. In fact, that misunderstanding became his inner demon, obsession, and unwillingness. That was why he came back and killed everyone in the Yi family except for me. Ha! Yi Wuhui's laughter was full of mockery. Ancestral Master Mu Yun left a message at the last moment. She said it all. Ancestral Master Mu Yun was truly a stubborn woman. Everything was actually within her expectations. The Yi family was not allowed to resist. Killing Bu Miaotian was equivalent to killing an ancestor, and the ghost prodigy of the three realms killed all his descendants with his own hands. I saw all of this with my own eyes. None of them were ordinary people. Second brother, who do you think killed our family? Who is right and who is wrong? Yi Wuhui's eyes were extremely empty. It was a question that had troubled her for tens of thousands of years. In a sense, the Yi family became the sacrifice for Yi Muyun and Bu Miaotian's love and hatred. And they were innocent. If Yi Muyun had told the truth in advance, she could have avoided the destruction of the family. But she didn't because there was hatred in her heart. If Bu Miaotian wasn't cruel, she might not have allowed the tragedy of killing her descendants to happen. But there was also hatred in her heart. Yi Kanqing shook his head at Yi Wuhui's question. He couldn't answer it. In fact, he didn't have an answer in his heart either. There was only endless bitterness in his heart. Now that he knew the cause and effect of this bitterness, he felt even more bitter. Yi Wuhui might have endured this bitterness for tens of thousands of years. Little sister, who gave you your current name? Yi Kanqing asked. Him, of course. Yi Wuhui said. Someone once asked him if he regretted it. He said, why should I? If he regretted it, how could he become a soulless being? Even if he killed his own bloodline, Bu Miaotian would never regret it. So, he gave me the name No Regrets. Yi Wuhui sighed. No regrets? Haha. Yi Kanqing sneered. What kind of heart did he have? In fact, I wanted to kill him for many years. I wanted to avenge everyone in the villa. Yi Wuhui said with hatred. But I couldn't kill him at all. His cultivation base was out of my reach. I could kill him, but I couldn't. Yi Wuhui bit his lower lip, leaving a bite mark. For the past of Muyun Villa, please refer to the 9 coffins. Chapter 497. Bitterness and happiness are often together, and love and hate are often intertwined. When Yi Wuhui told her everything about Bu Miaotian, he felt very complicated. After all, they had depended on each other for many years. Killing him was like an ant trying to kill an immortal. Yi Wuhui's voice was a bit hoarse. However, he never guarded against me. No matter what I did, it was useless. For a long time, he existed in a soulless and formless form, but he was always by my side. I scolded him and killed him. He was not angry or annoyed at all. At that time, he was like an emotionless monster. I don't know if that kind of life passed for hundreds of years or thousands of years. I cultivated desperately just to kill him. He knew my motivation to cultivate, but he treated me like a treasure. However, he treated me like a treasure and taught me everything he knew without holding anything back. He said that I was his bloodline. If I could kill him one day, I would be above the venerable realm. Even if he died, I would have no regrets. Because he was Bu Miaotian's bloodline, becoming a venerable was what he wanted. His will was as firm as a rock. He was unmoved by many things. However, he would satisfy any of my requests. Once, I wanted a blue star. It took him 300 years to refine it and bring it to me. Another time, because of my rudeness, a cultivator looked at me coldly. In the end, he destroyed an entire sect. 3,000 disciples. For me, he even built the Siyun Villa. Everything there is almost no difference from the Muyun Villa. Of course, that name is worth pondering. Siyun Villa was built by Bu Miaotian? Sumo could not help but ask. Those puppets were all his work. That's right. Yi Wuhui said, in fact, I lived there for many years. Although I know they are all puppets, they used to comfort my soul. Unfortunately, I am now restricted. Sumo listened and nodded. At the same time, he was slightly shocked. He had seen the puppets in the Seun villa with his own eyes. It was not an exaggeration to say that the puppet in the villa was enough to destroy the Pure Land world. Of course, Sumo understood the power of a venerable. However, there were not many venerables like Bu Miaotian. Back then, the puppets of the Qing family could sweep through the 3 realms and were invincible. However, compared to Bu Miaotian, all of that seemed to be far inferior. Bu Miaotian could almost create a human. Thinking of this, Sumo could not help but inwardly gasp. That was truly a god. That was the master of creation. Whether it was Blue Sea or Dark Exalt, neither of them had yet reached this level. They needed the help of the roulette in order to evolve everything. He is heartless. Heartless to the point of numbness, heartless to the point of inhumanity. Ha ha! Yi Wuhui smiled bitterly. But, he dotes on me and loves me. No matter how much I tried to provoke him, it was impossible. He had always hoped that I would call him patriarch. I hope that I admit that I am his blood. Later, after who knows how many hundreds or thousands of years, he brought me to Yizong World. How did you get to Yizong World? Yi Kanxing asked. I don't know. Yi Wuhui shook his head. Time is heartless, and the years are wasted. In fact, I almost forgot the time. Later, I gradually forgot the hatred I had for him. Or rather, I suppressed that hatred in the bottom of my heart. Once, I really called him Ancestral Master. He was so excited that he laughed. In tens of thousands of years, that was the happiest laugh he had ever had. He said that even becoming a venerable wasn't that happy. Yi Wuhui looked at Yi Kanxing with empty eyes. Second brother, don't blame me. I really can't kill such a person with my own hands. He accompanied me for tens of thousands of years. Whether I admit it or not, in fact, he is my patriarch. There were no tears in Yi Wuhui's eyes, but everyone present could feel that at this moment, Yi Wuhui's tears were already falling like rain. On one side was a blood feud, on the other was a father-like patriarch. Yi Wuhui had no choice, and couldn't even resolve this pain and contradiction. At this moment she was half squatting, her shoulders shaking, but there were no traces of tears. That was a woman who had borne such pain alone for tens of thousands of years. And all of this, originally, shouldn't have been borne by her. Yi Kanxing walked over, bent down and embraced Yi Wuhui in his arms. He patted her head, comforting her. Little sister, you've suffered. Everything, it doesn't matter. You're also not wrong. If there really is revenge, it should be Big Brother's matter. You are the Yi family's woman, I am the Yi family's man. Brother! Yi Wuhui didn't say anything, only hugging Yi Kanxing and wailing. Although there were no tears, she still had to pour out the pain of tens of thousands of years. Fate made fools of people. Yi Muyun and Bu Miaotian seemed to have been played by fate, and because of this, Yi Wuhui had been struggling in torment and pain. Yi Kanxing was perhaps the only person who could understand Yi Wuhui. Because they had the same blood. Sumo and the others watched this scene, and they couldn't help but sigh endlessly. Even the Dark Sovereign who once ruled over everything might not be able to play out such a story. Everyone wanted to control their own fate. In fact, if they thought about it carefully, Yi Muyun and Bu Miaotian's tragedy might be attributed to their own choices. This might be the reason why they didn't regret it. Yi Wuhui gradually stopped crying. Yi Kanxing asked again, Little sister, what's the matter with the twin sister you spoke of? The Yizong world is vast and boundless, Yi Wuhui said. We had been traveling in the Yizong for an unknown period of time. The Patriarch told me that the 3 realms galaxy had shattered. From then on, the Patriarch began to be busy. Why was he busy? Yi Kanxing asked. For the sect. Yi Wuhui sighed softly. The corpseless sect? Sumo said. Yes, the corpseless sect. Yi Wuhui nodded. Bu Miaotian founded the corpseless sect, so he was the sect master of the corpseless sect. Sumo seemed to have figured out many things. However, Yi Wuhui shook his head. He should have participated in the founding of the corpseless sect. But he shouldn't be the sect master of the corpseless sect, Yi Wuhui said. What? Everyone present was stunned, including Li Beihan, because what Yi Wuhui said before seemed to confirm that Bu Miaotian was the sect master of the corpseless sect. Who is the sect master of the corpseless sect? Li Beihan asked. I don't know. Yi Wuhui shook his head. I've never seen the sect master of the corpseless sect, and I've only heard about him from the Patriarch. The corpseless sect in the entire Dongyi galaxy is under the Patriarch's command. Bu Xiyun is your senior brother? Li Beihan asked. Yes. Have you seen him? Yi Wuhui said. No. My follower has seen one of his clones, Li Beihan said. Sumo Yi Kanxing and the others also nodded. In the 8 trigrams lake of the ancient coin realm, the young cultivator called himself Bu Xiyun. Eldest senior brother Bu Xingkong, second senior brother Bu Xiyun, they are both the Patriarch's adopted sons. Yi Wuhui smiled faintly. In fact, they are all the Patriarch's tools. And my sister is a god's puppet that the Patriarch created for me. Chapter 498. Divine Puppets? Sumo Yi Kanxing and the others were stunned. None of them, including Li Beihan, knew what a divine puppet was. However, the name sounded extraordinary. The Patriarch's puppetry skills were unparalleled. Yi Wuhui sighed. Most of the time, I really thought that he could create real cultivators and not puppets. The puppets he created were divided into 5 types, namely, 5 elemental puppets, living puppets, mortal puppets, cultivation puppets, and divine puppets. The so-called 5 elemental puppets are puppets in the eyes of ordinary cultivators. They came in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and almost all of them were used for battle. They have many formations in their bodies, but they don't have any intelligence. They are purely tools. However, the most powerful of the 5 elemental puppets are also extremely powerful. The Patriarch has rebirth level 5 elemental puppets. Everyone sucked in a cold breath when they heard about rebirth level 5 elemental puppet. Didn't that mean that a puppet could destroy a small world? Living puppets, as the name suggests, have a trace of intelligence. However, they have a variety of forms. They can perform relatively simple tasks on their own and don't need to be controlled at all times. The formations in their bodies often have specific orders. For example, the ghostly shadow that I am currently possessing. Back then, it was a living puppet. The ghostly shadow was only a living puppet. This came as quite a surprise to the crowd. Because as far as they were concerned, Guiying was an extremely powerful puppet. Although Yi Wuhui did not say that the 5 types of puppets had to be ranked from low to high, there seemed to be a huge difference between puppets and human puppets. Mortal puppets can no longer be called puppet. This is because they have the form of a human, and they have the intelligence of an ordinary person. They can respond and think without any problems. However, the fighting power of mortal puppets is very low. In fact, they are a type of experiment. Some of the servants in Xiyun Villa belong to this type. They have intelligence and can think, but their fighting power is not strong. Aren't they just mortals? Everyone was shocked. Cultivator puppets are the most common type of puppets created by the Patriarch. They had extremely high intelligence and were basically no different from ordinary people. They could even carry out ordinary cultivation and had the ability to repair themselves. However, when they were created, they were limited to the upper limit of their realm. They had a high degree of freedom. Usually, he could live as he pleased without any control. However, once Master orders it, it must be completed. All the puppets in Xiyun Villa are basically of this type, right? Sumo asked. That's right. Yi Wuhui nodded and said, in contemplative Cloud Mountain manner, except for some servants, the other important figures are all cultivator puppets. But I've heard of the resurrection puppet and the imitation puppet. What was that all about? Sumo recalled the battle in the Undying Dynasty. Yi Wuhui was stunned. You know about the resurrection puppet? We met in the past. Sumo briefly told him about the battle between the Undying Dynasty and the Northern Chill City. In the Northern Chill City, Li Beihan's eyes lit up. The other reason he came to the Pure Soil planet was to find the Northern Chill City. In fact, the Patriarch was obsessed with many things in the three realms. Yi Wuhui sighed. Back then, the three realms were broken. The soulless Taoist's aura was also shattered. What remained of them floated in the vast starry sky. But the Patriarch kept looking for them. Although it was like looking for a needle in a haystack, he really found some clues. So, he injected the aura into the cultivator puppets so that they could have some memories, but they might not be complete. They called themselves the Resurrection Puppet. However, not all the Resurrection Puppets were created by the Patriarch. My two senior brothers and my sister could all make puppets like that. It seems that the Spider-Woman we met in the ancient coin realm was a resurrection puppet. Sumo looked at Yi Kanxing and Yu Wuji. Both of them nodded their heads. Spider-Woman? Yi Wuhui said, she's the same as the Qijua fire god. They're both resurrection puppets. They're both the soulless Taoists. But one of them belongs to my second senior brother, Bu Siyun, and the other to my sister, Qi Wuhui. So that's how it is. Su Mo understood some things. Then, he waved his hand. Whoosh. King Mu, Peach Fairy, and the life and death Taoist landed in the cave abode. Everyone was stunned. Yi Kanxing and Yu Wuji didn't know that Sumo had 3 purple-clothed puppets. Who do they belong to? Who owns the Hall of Life in the southern region of the Chaotic Gods continent? Sumo asked. These 3 are the imitation puppets you mentioned just now. Yi Wuhui looked at the 3 puppets and frowned. The Hall of Life used to be a small city of mine. But the Hall of Life is my first senior brother's shop. These 3 replicas should be his handiwork. The replica dolls were actually created based on the cultivators of the 3 realms back in the day. They're actually puppets of 5 elements. But Yi Wuhui looked at Sumo's 3 puppets carefully. These 3 puppets of yours seem a bit special. They seem to have evolved. They couldn't have been god-burying puppets back then. God-burying puppets aren't sold in the Hall of Life. These 3 puppets have golden bodies? And this King Mu? Yi Wuhui was stunned. This was because he felt a trace of a soul fluctuation from the adoring king puppet. This puppet actually evolved into a puppet resurrection by itself. That's impossible. Yi Wuhui's eyes flashed with astonishment. Sumo shook his head and put away the 3 puppets. It's not strange. The King Mu's puppet seems to have devoured the remnant soul of the Spider Lady. That's why it's like this. Oh? Is that so? Yi Wuhui nodded. There are still many things I don't know about the art of puppets. What about the god puppet? Yi Kanxing asked. The god puppet is the pinnacle of all puppet. Apart from the ancestral master, no one else can make it. Yi Wuhui took a deep breath. Because it's really the creation of a human. The god puppet has complete intelligence and can continue to cultivate. However, the upper limit of its cultivation comes from the talent of the cultivator who gave it the primordial soul. In other words, the more talented the cultivator who gave it the primordial soul, the higher its cultivation level will be. Back then, in order to relieve my pain, the ancestral master took a strand of my soul and created my sister. When she was born, she had the same memories and appearance as me. She was even another me. Then, the ancestral master gave her the surname Bu, and her name was Bu Wuhui. We had the same memories for 70,000 years. However, after she was created, she was different from me. Her personality was the complete opposite of mine. At first, we were as close as sisters. However, as time passed, we grew apart. She valued fame and power, and cultivated with all her might. Thus, we gradually grew apart. I traveled around and didn't care about the world. But now, she wants to kill me. Yi Wuhui's lips curled up. Her smile was helpless and sad. Because without me, she would be the real Mississippi. What about Bumyaotian? Yi Kanshing raised an eyebrow. There's been no news from the ancestral master for tens of thousands of years. Yi Wuhui shook her head. I don't know where he went. Chapter 499. There had been no news of the ghost prodigy of the three realms for tens of thousands of years. Sumo and the others each had their own thoughts when they heard the news. There seemed to be too much information hidden behind the news. Yi Wuhui was in a very dangerous situation now, but Bumyaotian hadn't shown up. That was very unreasonable. What's Feng Wuhui's cultivation level? Yi Kanshing asked. Peak 1 life immortal realm. Yi Wuhui said, second brother, that's an existence that you can't reach at the moment. Peak 1 life immortal realm? Sumo's eyes flickered when she heard that. Is she going to make a breakthrough soon? Yes. Yi Wuhui nodded. In fact, one of the reasons why she wants to kill me is that if she can devour me, she can make a breakthrough directly and even cross the 5 decay realm. Don't your two senior brothers know about this? Li Beihan asked. Are they just watching from the sidelines? They only care about whether the corpse-less sex sector is expanding again. In their eyes, I'm a person who has nothing to do. In fact, the corpse-less sex ambition is terrifying. Yi Wuhui shook his head. So, I can only rely on myself. I've been hiding from my sister. However, I exposed my whereabouts outside the Siyun Villa. Sumo understood that Yi Wuhui had said that she couldn't appear in Siyun Villa. It seemed that Yi Wuhui had paid a heavy price to show up. However, when Li Beihan heard Yi Wuhui's words, a dark light flashed in his eyes. However, he nodded slightly and didn't say anything. What ambition does the corpse-less sect have? Sumo asked. They want to rule the whole dust world and even. Yi Wuhui paused, as if she was unwilling to admit that ambition. Even the whole hidden world? Sumo frowned. Yes. Yi Wuhui nodded. All the cultivators present felt a chill on their scalp. What kind of ambition was that? It was as if a cultivator wanted to control the whole universe. Arrogant and terrifying. From the looks of it, the netherworld realm is like a small puppet to them, right? Mo Wenqing sneered. Why is it that there are always people who like to control everything in this world? Silence. A short period of silence ensued. No one spoke. Sumo heaved a long sigh in his heart. Actually, wasn't he the same back then? However, now that he had reincarnated, his personality had changed a little. He understood that no one wanted to be a puppet. Unfortunately, not everyone is willing to live an ignoble life. The taciturn Bai Wangchen suddenly sneered. Miss Yi, what will Tianfu City do to my netherworld realm? For now, nothing will happen. Yi Wuhui smiled bitterly. Unless my sister is sure that I'm hiding here. However, she wouldn't casually descend to the netherworld realm. After all, there's another existence in the netherworld realm that she's afraid of. Who? Mo Wenqing asked in confusion. Him. Yi Wuhui pointed at City Lord Mu, who was floating on the white jade platform. Oh! Sumo and the others were stunned. The cultivators of the netherworld city were even more surprised. City Lord Mu actually had this kind of power? The City Lord of the netherworld city was able to make the high and mighty Tianfu city shrink back. Don't be surprised. Yi Wuhui smiled and said, Your city governor is a man who hides himself very deeply. Once he wakes up, it's very likely that he'll become a reincarnation realm cultivator. What? A reincarnation realm cultivator? The gazes of the people of the netherworld city became fervent. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen couldn't believe their ears. The city lord of the netherworld city was indeed a high and mighty existence in their hearts. However, after hearing the words of Li Beihan and Yi Wuhui just now, they all felt that the netherworld realm was a land of elixirs. It seemed that as long as the heavenly floating city shook, it would be able to turn them into dust. They didn't expect that the city lord of the Netherworld City was an existence that even Chi Wuhui was afraid of. At this time, the only person in the immortal cave who had a calm expression was Li Beihan. After all, he had a premonition that this would happen. Everyone, you seem to have forgotten the reason why you came here. You didn't come to the 18th floor to capture me or Miss Yi, right? Li Beihan smiled. Mo Wenqing couldn't help but laugh. From discovering Li Beihan to Yi Wuhui's appearance, everything that happened just now was too sudden and too shocking. It seemed that Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen had really forgotten the reason why they came here. We came to wake the city lord. Bai Wangchen smiled bitterly. The 5 family heads of the Nether City also gradually recovered from the shock. No matter what happened to Tianfu City or the Corpseless sect, they had to wake the city lord of the Nether City first. Moreover, Yi Wuhui said that the city lord of the Nether City was a reincarnation realm cultivator. Just now, Li Beihan and Yi Wuhui seemed to have brought them to a distant starry sky. Now they had to return to reality. Sumo, I need to rest, Yi Wuhui said softly to Sumo. Right now, Yi Wuhui was extremely weak, and she was barely holding on just now. Gue Ying was a puppet, so the changes in his expression couldn't be seen, but Yi Wuhui indeed couldn't hold on for long. Alright, I'll put away Gue Ying first, you rest well, Sumo said. And Yi Wuhui nodded, then turned to Yi Kanxing and said, Second brother, take care. Yi Kanxing nodded. Thus, Sumo waved her hand, and Gue Ying directly flew back into her storage bag. Sumo's tattered cloth bag could store anything. Yi Wuhui naturally fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, other than Li Beihan, the cave abode returned to its original state. Li Beihan took the initiative to stand outside. Sumo, Linghu Huan, and the 5 family heads controlled the 9 nether ancient tokens. The 5 elements ancient tokens and yin-yang ancient tokens formed a circle around the floating city lord. Buzz buzz buzz, buzz buzz. The 7 ancient tokens instantly resonated. This time there was no 5-pointed star, and the 7 ancient tokens seemed to have some kind of natural tacit understanding between them. They constantly adjusted their positions and angles. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen simultaneously formed hand seals. Only with the ancient tokens and secret seals could the city lord of Nether City be awakened. Whoosh! The world-breaking power spread out, and the 7 ancient tokens vibrated even more violently. At the same time, they completed their adjustments. Rays of light abruptly rose from the ancient medallion. It was a power as vast as the sea. Whoosh, whoosh, Sumo and the others even heard the sound of the tide. It was a mysterious power that had been hidden in the ancient tokens all along. This scene shocked the cultivators of Nether City. And there was an even more shocking scene yet to come. For some reason, Linghu Huan, who was originally standing beside Sumo, floated up. His clothes were as white as snow, his eyes slightly closed, and his long hair scattered. At that moment, he did not seem to be himself. Slowly, his body floated below City Lord Mu's body. The 2 bodies were less than 3 feet apart. The brilliance of the 9 nether ancient tokens instantly enveloped them. However, the brilliance left a human figure above them. They were still waiting for another person to appear. Whoosh! A portal of light instantly appeared above the cave abode. Chapter 500. On the surface of the Pure Land on the White Bone Continent. The southern region. Deep in the mountains, immortal mist lingered. An immortal palace stood on the mountainside. The sound of stringed instruments reverberated in the mountains. Occasionally, auspicious birds could be seen hovering in the air. In the deep mountains there were many beauties. In the immortal palaces there were many cultivators. This was the White Bone Continent's home of warmth and gentleness, the grave of heroes. That was because this was the Bliss Palace. White Bone's Bliss Palace. Back then, during the Immortal Temple's battle, the Mute Master sealed up the entire White Bone Continent. The blissful palace lord, Ling Hu Huan, had completed his mission of cleaning up the sect. It had been more than 1,000 years since then. After that, the white bones were unharmed and everything was peaceful. White bones were still white bones. Bliss was still bliss. However, on this day, everything was different. In the depths of the Bliss Palace, a woman dressed in a white robe reclined on a bed of clouds. The white robe was loosely tied with a long white sash, as if it would fall off at any time. The female cultivator's posture was languid and her eyes were hazy, as if she had just woken up. Her hair was draped over her shoulders, and she was barefoot. She was a heavenly beauty. Her skin was creamy and seemed to have a faint fragrance. The female cultivator stretched, and the expression in her eyes changed. In fact, the female cultivator didn't wear any makeup and was elegant and refined. At this moment, her watery eyes were clear and without ripples. Her eyes were as tranquil as a lotus, without the slightest bit of allure. Languid and charming, pure and flawless. It was a combination of extreme contradictions, and it was an extremely high realm of beauty. The female cultivator was none other than the palace lord of Bliss Palace, Ling Hu Huan. Those who seek the Ling Hu seek the acacia. What joy could one ask for after obtaining the Ling Hu clan? She was an absolute legend on the Bone Continent. At this moment, if Sumo saw her, she would definitely be extremely surprised. Because her appearance and cultivation hadn't changed in the slightest during these past 1,000 years. Soul transformation, great perfection. Of course, he could summon the wind and summon the rain on the White Bone Continent. But if they were in the netherworld realm, they would be ordinary cultivators. In truth, with Ling Hu Huan's resources and talent, she should have made a breakthrough long ago. However, she felt that this was very good. Here, she didn't need a high realm. It was an ordinary day. Ling Hu Huan was about to get up. However, a strange energy fluctuation suddenly came from within her cave. Ling Hu Huan frowned. When she looked again, a formation had gradually appeared in the middle of her abode. The 7-colored light flowed endlessly within the formation. The strange runes gently rippled. Oh! Ling Hu Huan was stunned for a moment before he smiled faintly. Sumo, it's only been over 1,000 years. Could it be that you've really arrived at the 9th Nether City? Then, the 7 tokens became one. Sigh. Ling Hu Huan sighed coquettishly. It seems that the days of being a pure woman are coming to an end. Kakik. Ling Hu Huan suddenly laughed happily and said to herself, being a woman is actually pretty good. Then, she raised her hand and called out softly, sisters, it's time. It's time to go back. Her soft summons echoed throughout the entire Bliss Palace in an instant. The Bliss Palace had been waiting for this moment for tens of thousands of years. On the other hand, the Bliss Palace was shining brilliantly and filled with immortal chi. Countless female cultivators disappeared in an instant, turning into countless flowers. Moreover, the palace halfway up the mountain had disappeared as well. Deep in the mountains, it was empty in an instant. Out of the 3,000 female cultivators in the massive Bliss Palace, only 3 remained. One was dressed in black, one in white, and one in green. They were the black-white emissaries that Sumo had met the other day, as well as the green-clothed female cultivator who led the 5-colored divine bull. Currently, countless flowers were clustered around them. Their cultivation base was improving at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if all of the Bliss Palace's power had been gathered on the 3 of them. Mu, the 5-colored divine bull, appeared in midair, and raised its head to let out a long neigh. It was still extremely tall and muscular, pulling the magnificent flying chariot. The Bliss Palace was huge, yet it only had these few. Whoosh, the formation in the void had been opened. Kakik. Ling Hu Huan looked at her surroundings again. However, her eyes reflected the state of the entire white bone landmass. It was a human-shaped skeleton that had wanted to awaken but was sealed. Goodbye, old friend. One day, Sumo will come back and awaken you. Ling Hu He Huan waved at the 3 female cultivators as soon as she finished. Sisters, let's go. Mu, the 5-colored divine bull, raised its head to the sky and let out a long neigh. The female cultivators looked at each other and smiled, then stepped into the formation at the same time. The White Bone Bliss Palace disappeared from then on. The incident later shook the entire White Bone landmass. Almost no one on the White Bone landmass could explain the disappearance of the Bliss Palace. It became an unsolved case on the White Bone landmass. The Immortal Temple was in front of them, and the Bliss Palace was behind them. The 2 great immortal sects of the White Bone landmass had disappeared for more than 1,000 years. At the same time, in the northern region of the White Bone landmass, Bai Lai was still the same inside the Divine Tribulation sect. He basked in the sun happily. The moment the bliss disappeared, he let out a big yawn. Sigh. Another one is missing. Little Sue, I wonder when you'll be back. Old man, I'm still guarding this white bone for you. I wonder if you still want it. The wind blew past, and the mountains and rivers remained the same, waiting for an old friend. The Netherworld realm, the 18th floor of the Nether City. The changes in the immortal cave shocked Sumo and the others. Whoosh, the 7-colored radiance was still as calm as water. Several figures instantly appeared in the light gate inside the immortal cave. Hee hee hee. A lovely laughter echoed, shaking the souls of the people. Sumo raised her eyebrows. She was very familiar with that laughter. Ling Hu He Huan. Whoosh, the wind blew, and the old friends appeared. Ling Hu He Huan, the black and white emissaries, the green-robed Altair, and the 5-colored divine bull suddenly appeared in the light gate. Even Li Beihan, who was experienced and knowledgeable, was shocked by this scene. What kind of secret technique was this? Sumo, I trust you've been well since we last met. Ling Hu He Huan stepped out of the formation and smiled at Sumo. Sumo was stunned. She could only reply, I trust you've been well since we last met. At this time, all the cultivators of the Nether City knelt down. We pay our respects to the black and white protectors and the green-robed saintess. Whoosh Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and the 5 family heads all knelt down. The shock in their hearts far surpassed that of Sumo and the others. Aside from Ling Hu He Huan, the other 3 female cultivators were all experts of the previous generation of Nether City. However, Mo Wenqing and the others didn't understand why they suddenly appeared. From what they knew, the black and white emissaries and the green-robed saintess had already passed away many years ago. All the cultivators of Nether City were shocked and excited. Hee hee hee. Ling Hu He Huan's laughter didn't stop. Everyone, you may rise. After saying this much, Ling Hu He Huan didn't say anything else. Instead, she gently closed her eyes. Just like the white-robed Ling Hu He Huan, she directly floated up. However, she floated above City Lord Mu. The human-shaped space in the middle of the 7-colored light was reserved for her. 3 bodies fuse into one, and my soul returns. A voice suddenly echoed in the immortal cave. The voice was unexpectedly from City Lord Mu's mouth. It was as if he was in the realm of the gods. Whoosh, the 3 bodies instantly fused together. Then, City Lord Mu suddenly opened her eyes, which shone with boundless radiance. The corner of her mouth curled up. Her smile was so beautiful that it could topple cities and countries. Chapter 501. City Lord Mu awakened as the 3 bodies merged into one. The vast aura in the cave slowly dissipated. Both Ling Hu He Huan and White Bone Ling Hu He Huan disappeared. Only City Lord Mu floated in the air. She still had the appearance of a woman. Or rather, she was White Bone Bliss Palace's Ling Hu He Huan. She had changed into a solemn black robe. She was still graceful and domineering. Greetings, City Lord. Congratulations on your return. At this moment, all the 9 darkness cultivators, including the black and white protectors and the saintess in green, knelt on the ground and kowtowed sincerely. City Lord Mu floated in the air, as if she was looking down on everyone. She gently separated her hands, and a gentle yet irresistible force lifted the kneeling people up. Dispense with the formalities. City Lord Mu's voice was pleasant to the ear, but there was a hint of majesty in it. Only then did all the 9 darkness cultivators rise to their feet, but they all held their breaths with solemn expressions. City Lord Mu did have that kind of aura. Congratulations, City Lord Mu. Sumo, Li Beihan, and the others cupped their hands in greeting. Greetings, everyone. The black-clothed City Lord Mu landed on the white jade platform and smiled lightly. Linghu Huan was clearly between her eyebrows. However, there was a cold killing intent that Linghu Huan didn't have. That kind of temperament was extremely special. Sumo's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have felt that feeling before. However, it was so long ago that he couldn't recall it clearly. City Lord Mu. Suemo once again cupped his fists towards the Nether City Lord. He lightly smiled and said, "Are we old friends? I seem to have seen City Lord somewhere before." Sumo, it's only been 1,000 years since White Bone left. How can we not be old friends? City Lord Mu looked at Sumo and smiled sweetly. However, I didn't think we would meet again in Nether City so soon. Could it be that you've forgotten about me? Sumo shook her head and smiled. How could I forget such a peerless beauty? However, City Lord Mu should understand that I didn't mean that. Have we met before, White Bone? Ha! City Lord Mu laughed but didn't reply. However, there was a deep meaning in his eyes. Turning his head, City Lord Mu looked at Imo Wenqing and Bai Wanchen and said, "Protectors, it's been hard on you to guard the Nether City for 100,000 years. It's part of our duty. Why do you say it's hard?" Imo Wenqing and Bai Wanchen hurriedly said, "Patriarchs, the 5 great families bear too many sins of Nether City. You've all suffered. This subordinate doesn't dare." The 5 patriarchs hurriedly bowed. "For the sake of Nether City, we are willing to die." Mayor Mu smiled faintly and nodded. Then, she turned to look at Li Beihan and said with a smile, "The Crown Prince of the ancient Lotus Galaxy has personally come to the Nether City. I am even more grateful." Li Beihan said with a smile. "City Lord Mu's words make me feel rather terrified. I have not helped Nether City in the slightest, so how can I be grateful? Here, I'd like to congratulate City Lord Mu on crossing the 5 signs of decay and entering the first reincarnation cycle." Likewise, City Lord Mu said. "I believe that the successor of the Sacred Lotus will not be Bai Lai in Nether City." Ha ha! Hearing this, Li Beihan only smiled and nodded, not saying much. In fact, City Lord Mu was right. Li Beihan's arrival in Nether City was of great significance to the city. Reincarnation. At this moment, all the cultivators at the scene were shocked again after hearing the conversation between the two. Even though Yi Wuhui had said that City Lord Mu was most likely a rebirth state cultivator, Yi Wuhui was still a rebirth state cultivator. However, that feeling was completely different from what she was admitting now. The cultivators of Nether City were even more excited. A rebirth city lord was enough to ensure the safety of the underworld city. He could even free them from the swamp of soul washers and sacrificers. At least, Tianfu City would have some misgivings. Then, City Lord Mu glanced at everyone. Actually, this scene was a little special. It was because she possessed a face so beautiful that it could topple cities. Every smile and every frown carried its own charm. However, there was too much murderous intent in that kind of flirtatiousness. There seemed to be 2 personalities on City Lord Mu. A thought suddenly flashed through Sumo's mind, but he felt that it was somewhat impossible. Pavilion Master Yi, Palace Master Yu. City Lord Mu looked seriously at Yi Kanxing and Yu Wuji and smiled. "It's an honor to meet you. We weren't fated in the previous life, but we meet again in this life. Nice to meet you." Yi Kanxing and Yu Wuji were stunned. because City Lord Mu had actually used the old name of the three realms. Moreover, her words were very clear. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchen were also stunned. We weren't fated in the previous life, but we meet again in this life? City Lord Mu also came from the three realms? In their minds, all the cultivators above the eternal state of the three realms flashed through, but they couldn't figure out who the person in front of them was. It was the same for Yi Kansheng and Yu Wuji. Not far away, Zhao Xiu also frowned slightly. There were many female cultivators of the eternal state in the three realms. If one looked at Linghu Huan's former enchanting look, she did have a bit of a water charm. However, she shouldn't be a water charm. A water charm's character was much more ruthless than this City Lord Mu. Her bewitching demonic aura was even more powerful than Linghu Huan. City Lord Mu, are you a reincarnator of the three realms? Sumo asked. City Lord Mu laughed. Why, I don't look like one? Who are you? Sumo didn't answer the question, but asked directly. Dark Supremacy, your people sneaked up on me and destroyed one of my souls. City Lord Mu was originally looking at Sumo with a smile. However, her expression suddenly changed. Chi. City Lord Mu didn't move. However, a sword light suddenly gathered in the cave. The sword light formed in an instant. It was unbelievably fast. With a piercing sound, it went straight for Sumo. This scene shocked all the cultivators present. However, a playful smile appeared on Sumo's face. Whoosh, Sumo was already prepared. A ray of purple light suddenly flew out from his storage pouch. A puppet and a sword light directly met City Lord Mu's sword. Huh! City Lord Mu instantly raised her eyebrows. Puff! With a thought, the sword in the air instantly dissipated. As for Sumo's puppet, it was frozen in the air by her. City Lord Mu didn't choose to fight. Sumo looked at City Lord Mu and couldn't help but smile knowingly. All of this was within Sumo's expectations. The puppet he took out was King Mu's puppet. Sumo's bet was right. City Lord Mu wouldn't attack King Mu. Despicable! City Lord Mu looked at Sumo and said hatefully. However, she revealed a trace of a girl's side. At that moment, she was enchanting Linghu Huan. No wonder, in the past, your people could defeat me. So it was all because of your teachings. City Lord Mu sneered. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to defeat me. Sumo clasped her fist at City Lord Mu. If I didn't use any tricks, Liusu wouldn't have been able to defeat you. Because you are the #1 sword god in the three realms. City Lord Mu heard this and his face became slightly happy. Sword god. Yi Kansheng, Yu Wuji, Mo Wenqing, Bai Wangchen, and Zhao Xiu's faces suddenly changed. Mu clan's sword god Mu Qingcheng. Chapter 502. Not everyone could claim the title of sword god. In the past, in the three realms, there were as many cultivators as there were grains of sand in the Ganges River, but there were only 2 people who could be called sword gods. Among them, the strongest was the Mu clan's sword god Mu Qingcheng. Mu Qingcheng was peerless, a peak expert of the three realms after the era of supremacies. In the past, he was one of the cultivators who might have become a venerable one. Unfortunately, during his final days in the three realms, he fought against the Permitha sword god, Bai Liusu. In the end, he was ambushed and killed by Bai Xiaoxi, who possessed Bai Liusu and possessed the divine mirror body. In terms of the Tao of the sword, Mu Qingcheng was undoubtedly the #1 in the three realms. From then on, no one in the three realms had ever seen Mu Qingcheng again. In the Star River era, no cultivator had heard any news about Mu Qingcheng. Everyone thought that Mu Qingcheng had truly died. In reality, it was Mu Qingcheng's Heaven Continent's second soul that had died. Before the three realms became the Milky Way, the people of the Tian continent all had 3 souls. Mu Qingcheng didn't die. She had always been focused on cultivating her sword Tao. He was once born for the sword. Everything else, including reincarnation in the three realms or eternal life, was not the most important issue to him. The three realms shattered, and he was reincarnated into the Izong realm. By a freak combination of factors, he had obtained a great fortuitous encounter. He had awakened a long time ago and turned into a woman. The beauty in front of him was actually Mu Qingcheng. This made all the reincarnation realm cultivators present feel that it was somewhat unbelievable. After reincarnation, yin and yang changed. This was the first time they had encountered such a situation. However, was this Mu Qingcheng male or female? After all, one shouldn't forget that there was still a white-robed man, Ling Hu Huan, among the three bodies that had fused together. City Lord Mu, are you a male cultivator or a female cultivator? Sumo asked. He. Mu Qingcheng giggled, looking at Sumo in a very flirtatious manner. The great Tao is formless, follow your heart's desire. As he spoke, he glanced at Mu Qingcheng's body, which emitted a faint glow. In the blink of an eye, she had completely transformed into the appearance of the white bone Linghu He Huan. After that, she transformed again, becoming the sword-like beauty of Mu Qingcheng in the three realms back then. His long hair flew in the wind. He was a sword. He could switch between yin and yang at will. The scene shocked all the cultivators present. However, there seems to be some regret in their hearts. How could the Mu clan's sword god become neither a man nor a woman? However, Sumo and Li Beihan both looked solemn. This was because their understanding of the world and all things far surpassed that of other cultivators. Congratulations, City Lord Mu, Li Beihan said solemnly. You actually cultivated the great Tao of primal chaos. The sword god of the three realms is about to become the chaos sword god. Sumo chimed in. Mu Qingcheng changed her appearance back to that of the black-robed City Lord Mu. She smiled sweetly. Sumo, is your Bailiosu still there? He still owes me a sword. City Lord Mu's words were half true and half joking. Actually, as someone from the two realms, Mu Qingcheng had coincidentally walked on the path of the grand Tao of primal chaos, returning to her natural state. Why would she care about that sword strike of the past? City Lord Mu, I will bring him back to life and have a real sword fight with you. Sumo promised, but it must be within the Star River. Good. Mu Qingcheng nodded, then her expression dimmed. Actually, the Three Realms Star River used to have many beautiful moments. Back then, we fought endlessly. I don't know why. But it was still far better than the puppets we are now in the other realms. Mu Qingcheng's words touched the hearts of all the reincarnators of the three realms. The dazzling Star River had always been a dream. City Lord Mu, you have awakened for many years. Do you know the truth behind the Star River's shattering? Sumo asked. Mu Qingcheng smiled bitterly and shook her head. Sumo, you should understand that one's cultivation level will limit everything. I have been cultivating bitterly for the sake of knowing the truth. But the rebirth realm may not be enough. The Izong realm far surpasses the three realms. But I can be sure that the shattering of the Star River has something to do with the Izong realm. Sumo nodded. Cultivation level limits everything, but also determines everything. Yi Kanxing and the others let out a long sigh. Of course, they all understood this logic. City Lord, what should we do next? Mo Wenqing asked. Now, the Nether City is filled with sacrificial offerings. The entire Nether City has become the puppets of the god. Mu Qingcheng nodded, and then her lips curled. Protector Mo, don't be anxious. There is only one thing we can do now. What is it? Mo Wenqing asked again. Wait. Mu Qingcheng smiled. This reply caused many 9 underworlds cultivators to be at a loss. What was this? Hadn't they been waiting all these years? Mu Qingcheng naturally understood everyone's thoughts, and couldn't help but smile. The waiting now is naturally different from the past. Previously we were just wasting time. Now we have to wait for the right time. Prince Li, am I right? Mu Qingqing looked at Li Beihan. Li Beihan nodded and smiled. City Lord Mu is right. Because the strength of your 9 realms is constantly growing. Actually, as long as Tianfu City is not in the Pure Land, you are free. However, to defeat or drive away Tianfu City, currently you don't have all the conditions. Tianfu City is extremely powerful. Although Miss Yi said that Nie Wuhui is currently only at the peak of the one-life immortal realm, the corpseless sect is a colossus. No one knows how many terrifying forces there are in Tianfu City. Since Nie Wuhui controls 1/3 of the East Starfield, then it is very likely that she has mobilized many unknown forces. Prince Li, the Li dynasty is not weak either. Mu Qingqing's gaze was profound. City Lord Mu, I won't hide it from you. The Li dynasty can help you restrain the corpseless sect's main forces, but to defeat Tianfu City, you can only rely on the forces of the 3 realms, Li Beihan said seriously. I understand. Guarding your own starfields is the rule of the Yizong faction. Mu Qingqing smiled. However, with this promise it's enough. We can take care of the rest ourselves. Dark Lord, break the shackles and return to the 3 realms. Let's start by overthrowing Tianfu City. Mu Qingqing looked at Sumo. Because we need a start. If the Pure Land can really become a Pure Land for the reincarnators of the 3 realms, then it will light up the galaxy. Mu Qingqing's eyes brightened. There must be many cultivators of the 3 realms waiting for this light. All right. Sumo nodded heavily. City Lord Mu is right. However, I still need a little more time. Right now, the time is indeed not right. We must make ourselves stronger to be foolproof. Is 1,000 years enough? Mu Qingqing smiled. We will wait for you in Nether City. 1,000 years later, we will kill our way to Tianfu City. 1,000 years was neither long nor short for cultivators. 1,000 years later, we will kill our way to Tianfu City. Mu Qingqing's words made people's blood boil. All right. 1,000 years. Sumo looked at Mu Qingqing and smiled. 1,000 years, Sumo could do many things. Thus, the two raised their palms at the same time. Clap, 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 3 crisp sounds rang out in the void. The two slapped their palms to form an alliance, a promise of 1,000 years. At this moment, the prologue to the return of the reincarnators to the galaxy had truly begun. Chapter 503. The promise of 1,000 years had become a promise. To the cultivators of the 9 underworlds, this was a boundless power. Because they finally saw the end of a kind of waiting and suffering. Everything in the Nether City was clear. Since Mu Qingqing was the master of the Nether City, and Sumo had made a promise with her, this trip to the Nether City had fulfilled Sumo's original intention. Yi Kanxing, Yu Wuji, Li Ziliang, and Zhao Xiu were all Sumo's gains. At this time, Li Beihan first cupped his hands to Sumo and Mu Qingqing. Brother Su, City Lord Mu, since you have made the promise, and the situation is stable, I will take my leave. This time, I have completed my mission in the 9 underworld. Don't worry, when the Nether City and Tianfu fight, the top forces of the corpseless sect will be firmly restrained. Thank you, Crown Prince, Mu Qingqing said. Take care, Sumo said. His relationship with Li Beihan was naturally one level closer than the others. Without Li Beihan, there were many things he wouldn't know. Today, Li Beihan even gave him an immortal bathing lotus seed. Li Beihan smiled, then took out an extremely exquisite spirit talisman from his bosom and handed it to Su Mo. Brother Su, the distance between Dongyi and Gulian is boundless. We don't know when we will meet again. This talisman is for you. If you want to go to the Gulian star zone one day, you can crush it. The star zone formation will appear and directly transport you to the Gulian star zone. It can only be used once. If you want to use it, you must go to Gulian. Don't waste it. I will sense it soon. Also, you must take the ancient lotus jade pendant I gave you. Not everyone has the protection of the holy lotus, Li Beihan said with a smile. Thank you, Brother Li. Please send my regards to the holy lotus. Sumo didn't stand on ceremony and took the talisman. After that, Sumo hesitated for a moment before asking, Brother Li, do you have any news about Amu? Holy Father Amu? Li Beihan shook his head helplessly. The holy lotus has been looking for him, but there's still no news. Sumo sighed and nodded. Everyone, farewell. In the end, Li Beihan bowed to everyone and said no more. With a slight movement, his figure instantly disappeared from the cave. Coming and going without a trace, the restrictions of Nether City were practically non-existent in front of Li Beihan. The one-life rebirth state was something that could only be hoped for but not achieved. Now that Li Beihan had left, there was no need for Sumo to stay any longer. He turned to look at Yi Kanxing and Yu Wuji and said with a smile, Now, the situation of the 9 underworlds is clear. Big Brother Yi, miss you, are you going to stay in the 9 Nether or are you going to go out and take a look? I'll stay in Nether City to cultivate. Yi Kanxing weighed the pros and cons originally. He wanted to go to see Yun Villa to take a look. However, after knowing everything from Yi Wuhui, there was actually no need for him to go. I'm going to look for the Azure Demon. Yu Wuji's attitude was very firm. The Azure Demon is definitely not in the Pure Land. Mu Qingqing said, Palace Lord Yu, when you recover to the rebirth state, you will understand. Now I can sense the existence of the reincarnators of the 3 realms. The Azure Demon is not in the Pure Land. Then I'll go look for him outside the Pure Land. Yu Wuji didn't change his original intention. After 1,000 years, I will return to Nether City and fight with Tian Fu. The woman of the Azure Demon naturally had her own stubbornness. Therefore, Mu Qingqing didn't dissuade him anymore. Instead, she took out a special storage pouch from her bosom. Palace Lord Yu, this storage pouch is for you. The things inside can help you cultivate and even help you break through the realms. There's also a spiritual talisman. As long as you return to the Pure Land, you can directly enter Nether City. If you can find the Azure Demon within 1,000 years, it will be a joyous occasion. Thank you, City Lord Mu. Yu Wuji received the storage pouch and kept it carefully. Sumo, I won't be giving you anything. With your luck, I'm afraid you don't lack anything. Mu Qingqing smiled at Sumo. However, you should take the 9 Serenities in token with you. What I said to you that day is still valid. In the Pure Land, you can return to Nether City at any time. Crush the ancient token, and I will appear. Hee. Sumo nodded and waved her hand. She didn't stand on ceremony, and kept the 9 Serenities in token. Then, Sumo looked at Zhao Xiu and Li Ziliang. I'll stay in the 9 Serenities to cultivate. Li Ziliang smiled bitterly. Actually, among these people, his status was the lowest. He was only able to stand here because of Sumo. To him, it was also an opportunity. Zhao Xiu raised his eyebrows and wanted to say something. However, Sumo smiled and said, Zhao Xiu, you have to come with me. In the future, if you want, you can return to the Netherworld realm. There are some things I need to ask you. Zhao Xiu smiled helplessly. I'll follow the arrangement of the Netherworld Venerable. Mu Qingqing looked at Zhao Xiu and slightly narrowed her eyes. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell who Zhao Xiu was in his previous life. This reincarnator of the 3 realms seemed to be a little special. Moreover, Zhao Xiu's constitution was very special. His Dan Si unexpectedly had a loophole. With such a constitution, he couldn't surpass the mortal realm. However, since he was someone that Sumo wanted to take away, Mu Qingqing didn't ask much. I can send you to any place in the Pure Land, Mu Qingqing said to Sumo and Yu Wuji. I'll go to the ancient Shu continent, Yu Wuji said. Mu Qingqing nodded. We'll go to the chaotic gods continent and the undying nation, Sumo said.
Oh!
After hearing Sumo's words, Mu Qingqing was slightly surprised. You're not going to the continent of white bones? Back then, Great Master Mute left you a generous gift. Sumo smiled. If I don't accept that generous gift, no one can. I'll go to the chaotic gods continent to take care of some things. It seems that you still have a lot of secrets. Mu Qingqing charmingly smiled, and then with a look of Ling Hu He Huan, Sumo, could it be that you want to go live a carefree life with that Yi Wu Hui? She's just a soul. Sumo smiled. What? City Lord Mu, are you jealous? Mu Qingqing giggled. Who's jealous of you? It's more like others are jealous of me. Just don't forget to come back after 1,000 years. After saying this much, Mu Qingqing stopped joking and spread her hands. Whoosh, in the middle of the cave, a formation instantly appeared. Inside the formation, there were many colors. It was extremely beautiful. Many regions of the Pure Land seemed to be flashing inside. Take care, Mu Qingqing said at last. If there's any danger, you can return to the 9 underworlds at any time. Everyone, take care. Yu Wuji didn't hesitate and bid farewell to everyone. He then stepped into the formation and instantly disappeared. Everyone, take care. We'll meet again. Sumo pulled Zhao Xiao and jumped into the formation. Whoosh, the formation closed. Mu Qingqing looked at the formation and seemed to be in a daze. Then she sighed. Sumo, we'll wait for you. Chapter 504. The Chaotic Gods Continent, the Undead Nation. Sumo and Zhao Xiao stood in the air, overlooking everything. Currently, nearly half of the Undying Country's territory was scorched earth. There were thousands of ravines and ravines. Suemo let out a long sigh, then formed a seal with his hands. The power of the undead nation spread out and formed a mirror in the air. It was a Taoist art of the 3 realms. It could extract the information of the past from the surrounding environment and then reconstruct a mirror image, allowing everything to be replayed. Looking at the mirror again, there were figures moving about. They were fighting. Sumo, Guanxiong, Miao Longer, Feng Wuhui, Dongfang Zhi and the others appeared in the mirror. There were also puppets, cultivators of the undead nation and Beihan City. Dongfang Zhi appeared, Sumo demonized, Feng Wuhui attacked, Han Bingi self-destructed, until Miao Long and the other cultivators retreated. Everything was clearly displayed in front of Sumo and Zhao Xiao. Even though there was only an image and no sound, Sumo understood everything that happened that day. Yi Wuhui, of course, was Qi Wuhui. Dongfang Zhi was Dongfang Huan. Dongfang Huan. Sumo's lips curled. Looks like not every reincarnator of the 3 realms is willing to fight for the restoration of the galaxy. Of course. Zhao Xiao smiled. Some people are used to life and death. Their home is where they are at peace. There's no right or wrong about that. Everyone has their own ambitions. I won't force them. Sumo nodded with a smile. What's Han Bingi's level? Zhao Xiao asked. Feng Wuhui is a peak immortal. From the mirror image, she could see that she was no match for that divine sense with just her own strength. What's Han Bingi's level? Reincarnation, or even higher? Zhao Xiao sighed. Reincarnation. Looks like everything is different. Han Bingi isn't a reincarnator of the 3 realms, Sumo said. Zhao Xiao was surprised. She should be like Yi Wuhui and the others, a crosser. They didn't reincarnate into the Yizong world, but directly crossed over. Sumo frowned. Before the Milky Way shattered, they had already reached the Yizong world. I don't think there are any samsara travelers in Beihan City. What a great opportunity, Zhao Xiao said. Sumo turned to look at Zhao Xiao and laughed. Didn't you also have a great opportunity? You were able to reincarnate after your reincarnation was severed by AMU. I really didn't expect this. I wouldn't have believed that it was you back at the Bliss Palace if it wasn't for your divine weapon and cultivation method that exposed your identity. Heh. Zhao Xiu laughed self-deprecatingly. It's probably because the three realms can't bear to part with my bones. However, I have a leaky body now. I can't even break through the mortal realm stage. I'm afraid I'm a cripple. Dragon saliva. Sumo sighed softly, then said very solemnly, "Back then, you died so that I could break the seal. So, I owe you my life. In this life, I will make sure you are fulfilled. But, I have a request." "Holy Lord." Zhao Xiu shook her head, then said sternly, "I believe in you. You will do it for me. But, you don't have to mention it. I, Dragon Saliva, wish for the three realms to live and die, and then sever reincarnation. I've already severed reincarnation once, so what's the harm?" Ha! Sumo couldn't help but laugh at the sky. Dragon Saliva is indeed worthy of its name. If we don't restore the Milky Way, we'll be letting down the alternate reincarnation. Zhao Xiu nodded and said nothing else. By then, Sumo's spell mirror image had completely dissipated. They were completely clear about everything that had happened back then. "A battle destroyed a dynasty," Sumo said. "There are no real cultivators left in this country." Zhao Xiu looked at the broken undead kingdom and said calmly, "Now, everyone walking in this country is a puppet. The corpse-less sect is really generous." Sumo smiled coldly. "However, this small dynasty is also a small move for them." Zhao Xiu silently nodded after hearing this. In the past, didn't they also hold all living beings in their hands? Dragon Saliva, I still want to ask you something. How did you awaken back then? Or rather, what happened to you after that strange phenomenon occurred outside the ancient temple in Peach Blossom Town? Sumo said. Actually, I didn't know who I was back in Peach Blossom Town. Zhao Xiu said. That day, when that strange phenomenon occurred and the song of the vast sea resounded, I also fainted. But when I woke up, I recovered all my memories. I'm Dragon Saliva. Back then, during the Battle of Paradise, because I killed too many people, AMU killed me and severed my reincarnation. Zhao Xiu forced a smile and sighed. That day, you were teleported to the Netherworld realm? Sumo asked. Yes. Zhao Xiu nodded and said, however, I was born with a body. I directly possessed the body of a cultivator who looked exactly like me. His name was also Zhao Xiu. He and I seemed to be the same person from different worlds. Very interesting. Zhao Xiu smiled. Sometimes I really can't tell which one is my true self. After all, the techniques of the God Fantasy sect are very interesting. My memories in the Divine Illusion Ball are very complicated. The memories of what happened outside Peach Blossom Town were unexpectedly divided into dreams. However, I know that it wasn't a dream. But for the cultivators of the God Fantasy sect, they all thought that it was my dream technique. Sumo nodded. Your experience is even more bizarre than mine. That day, I was teleported to the continent of white bones. After waking up, I was still me. Venerable sage. Zhao Xiu pondered for a moment and then said, Actually, for many years, I felt that there was something strange about this matter. After all, Li Ziliang, Iron Egg, Dafei, Third Uncle Qian, and the others didn't have Lao Xuantu in their memories. I've seen their memories, and they are completely different from mine. They're the same people, but they experienced different things. Only you and I have the same memories. Sumo's lips curled up. This is indeed strange. There seems to be a big hand behind us that arranged everything, Zhao Xiu said. Because even if I regain my memories, it's impossible for me to have the Dragon Saliva Blade. In theory, I can't have the Dragon Saliva Blade. But, Zhao Xiu opened his right hand, and a red light appeared in his palm. The venerable divine weapon, Dragon Saliva Blade. That day, Zhao Xiu used it to win 3 consecutive battles in the Bliss Palace. Unfortunately, he still couldn't unleash the full power of the venerable divine weapon. Did someone give us the Dharma treasure? Sumo smiled. It's very likely, Zhao Xiu said. Sumo smiled knowingly. This was because his 3 beggar treasures had obviously been modified. Otherwise, they wouldn't have become extremely powerful Dharma treasures. However, who had such great power? Such a person could be said to have eyes and ears that could almost plan the course of other people's lives. What was his goal? Sumo and Zhao Xiu couldn't figure it out. Could it be Lao Xuantu? Zhao Xiu suddenly asked. That old thing is very mysterious. I have a feeling that he's not an ordinary person. He's definitely not an ordinary person, Sumo said with certainty. Otherwise, it's impossible that he didn't appear in the memories of Li Ziliang and the others. According to our situation, he's at least a 3 realms reincarnator. Who was Lao Xuantu? Chapter 505. Lao Xuantu was a mystery. Unfortunately, neither Sumo nor Zhao Xiu had an answer. Sumo already knew about the situation in the Undying Country. Immediately after, Sumo brought Zhao Xiu to the northern region of the Chaotic Gods continent. He wanted to go to the northern Chill City. Unfortunately, Sumo couldn't find the shadow of the northern Chill City even after searching for a long time. He didn't know that the northern Chill City had changed its trajectory after the battle in the Undying Country. Now, it was hovering in the air above the ancient Shu continent. Sumo and Zhao Xiu were still in the Undying realm. Therefore, they couldn't sense the situation in the Pure Land continent. It seems that the northern Chill City has already left, Zhao Xiu said. Yes. Sumo nodded. We can only meet again in the future. Hopefully, the northern Chill City will be like the Netherworld and become a force that revives the 3 realms. Where are we going now? Zhao Xiu asked. Sumo laughed. I brought you out of the Netherworld and found a good place for you. Actually, I still have a foothold in the Chaotic Gods continent. I'll bring you there now. There, I have a spirit mine. At the same time, I'll refine pills there and help you repair your leaky body. Oh? Where is it? Zhao Xiu was somewhat curious. Actually, he had never left the Netherworld realm in this life. Any place on the Pure Land continent was a relatively novel place for him. The Forgotten City. As he spoke, Sumo took out a jade slip from his clothes. It was the same teleportation jade slip that he brought with him when he left the Forgotten City. There was a teleportation formation inside the jade slip, and it could directly connect to the teleportation formation inside the Forgotten City. As long as he was in the Chaotic Gods continent, Sumo could travel anywhere he wanted. Crack! A crisp sound echoed. Sumo directly crushed the jade slip. Then, a teleportation formation appeared. Sumo and Zhao Xiu stepped inside. Their target was naturally the Forgotten Capital City. Chaotic Gods Continent, Southern Region, Forgotten City. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, Sumo had been gone for nearly 5 years. In fact, 5 years could be considered as a snap of the fingers in the cultivation world. However, the situation in the 3 capitals of the southern region had changed. Back then, Sumo won 50% of the top-grade spirit mine for Forgotten Capital City. This 50% share of the spiritual mine could be said to have contributed to the rise of Forgotten Capital City. In the past 3 years, the average strength of the cultivators in Forgotten Capital had already surpassed that of the Ghost Capital and Dream Capital. Because in the first 3 years after Sumo had left, Ghost Capital and Dream Capital had been able to keep their promises. The mining of supreme-grade spirit stone mines was reasonable, and no one took advantage of them.